My fiance and her family are embarrassed by my disabled brother. They exclude him from everything.
They're embarrassing.
That's actually really embarrassing to be
them. Yeah.
I, 29 male, have been with my fiance, 33 female, for 3 years. We met while I was working in the US. We've been engaged for a few months. Wedding plans are for fall of next year. Our parents share the same cultural background. I have a brother, 31 male, with Down syndrome. She has no siblings. By the way, this comes from Kamagwi on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So I didn't talk too much about my family for the first year of our relationship. This was for no specific reason. They just weren't there. She knew my background though, and that my brother had Down syndrome. My fiance comes from a lot of money, whereas my family and I are middle class. My parents run a restaurant in my country, and my brother is employed by them. When I was younger, I used to do all the deliveries with my brother, and he took over that job completely when I left for university. I love my brother, and when I talk about him, I don't focus on his disability. To me, he's just my brother. When I talk about him or recount a story from my past, I just tell it. It's not necessary to mention that he's disabled every single time. One of the things my fiance has used against me in an argument is that I downplayed his disability because I talked about him so casually.
What is he supposed to do? Be like, yes, my brother with Down syndrome. I went to the store today.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was talking to my brother with Down syndrome.
Right.
About the football game today.
Yeah, it's like, that's just so unnecessary.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
That would be weird.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
She first met my family during year 2 of our relationship. She met my brother, and he was nothing but gentlemanly towards her. He gave her a gift, bowed to her, and refused to drop formal speech. That's so nice of him.
Yeah.
His quirk was that he was overly respectful and made himself available in case she needed anything. This was just his way of being hospitable, and I couldn't talk him into relaxing. My fiance didn't complain about anything to me or express she was uncomfortable. During her 3-week visit, there was probably a handful of small occasions where my brother accompanied us. These were things like sharing a few meals and wandering around afterwards because he wanted to be our guide. When I was younger, I could tell my brother something like, find me a quiet place where no one will bother me, and he would be able to take me to the perfect spot. You could get as specific as you want. This is one of his talents, and I challenged my fiance to describe somewhere she wanted to go so he could take us there. That's a fun little adventure.
I love that.
I really love that.
Yeah.
Especially if he's like excited about showing them places. Like, that's perfect. I remember her asking me if he could leave after he took us to a place. I thought she just wanted to be alone with me. Now I feel like it was because she was embarrassed to have my brother there with us. Between that first visit and our engagement, there aren't any other interactions that I can think of. It makes me feel like her reaction has come on suddenly. I don't understand it. I'm confused. But after we got engaged, I suggested we elope because I'm just that kind of person. I don't care about weddings. I have been teasing her from day one to just run away with me. She said she would like a proper wedding because she's an only child and her parents would like to see her get married. I told her if it's important to her, it's important to me. Our families met recently. Her parents met my brother for the first time. While we were taking photos, my fiance's mom insisted on taking a lot of photos of just me with my fiance's family and a few with my parents, excluding my brother from a lot of the group photos.
That's so weird.
That is weird.
That's so weird.
That's really weird. It wasn't apparent at first that this was happening until my dad approached me on the sidelines and whispered, "Does it feel like they don't want my brother in the photos?" I didn't want to acknowledge something like this was happening, so I told my dad that can't be true. That can't be true. No. Impossible. I made a stupid joke about how it's probably because they want photos with their future son-in-law more, and kept my focus on making sure everything went well that night. I thought it did. My fiance and I went back to her place after this, and nothing was wrong. We were in the middle of undressing, and I said something like, "I can't wait for all this wedding stuff to be over so I can have you to myself." She said something back like, "Me too, so I can have you to myself, and you won't have to deal with your brother." Oh no.
How dare you?
Wow. You don't have to deal with your brother?
Also, just like, it feels like she thinks that he's going to be on the same page.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, when has Opie ever given, like,
right.
Why would you?
That's an insane thing to say.
Yeah.
Wow. This spoiled the mood for me. I thought it was a strange thing to say, so I kind of reacted coldly. I asked her, "What does that mean?" She started caressing my face and hair and stuff, telling me she knows it must be hard. I probably feel very burdened about having a disabled sibling, but when I settle in the US with her, I can finally have a life of my own.
Shut up.
Ooh.
Shut up. No one's going to US with you.
Yeah. It's not gonna happen.
You're
Sorry,
going
girl.
to the US by yourself.
To
live alone.
Yeah.
Because you suck and
Ow.
you're ableist.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And rude.
This started an argument. I got a bit heated and mentioned him being excluded from the photos. She didn't acknowledge it, but she didn't deny it either. She defended her mom and said she's probably just uncomfortable being around someone like that.
She keeps making it worse.
It's just so much worse.
Stop talking.
Oh my goodness. I challenged her statement. She got upset and asked me to drop it and come to bed. I told her I'm leaving and I went to stay with my parents. By the way, you can always stay with us live on YouTube every weekday at 3 p.m. PST. You just gotta tap your profile.
Tap
our profile. I didn't have the heart to explain why I showed up, so I just put on a face and said I wanted to spend time with them. My fiance and I have been distant for days. She reached out a few times, but I need time. It's just, there's something tugging at the back of my brain telling me that she and her family are embarrassed by my family. There's no clear sign, but the feeling is there after this recent interaction between our families and our argument. My friends think it's just cold feet because things are getting real, but I don't think it's that. And that is the end. Oh no.
Man, what a sad ending.
Sad. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's crazy.
No, I don't think, I think that's fair. I think it's a fair reason to not want to go through with the wedding if your partner is thinking badly about your family members.
Yeah.
Hopefully everything works out with and you get to hang out with your brother.
You'll find someone that loves hanging out with your brother.
Yes.
And is not embarrassed by him at all.
Yeah, and doesn't suck as a person.
Yeah.
But that's the end of that story.
That's the end.
We'll see you for the next one.
Woo!
My wedding night fell off the rails because of a complete stranger.
Stranger danger.
My wedding was not traditional, and we essentially had a courthouse wedding, but had one of my husband's family members became ordained to wed us. That's nice. The morning and afternoon was amazing and very chill. By the way, this comes from user Important Park 7882 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, fast forward to the evening. We had no concrete plans other than to bar hop, since the city we were in has a great nightlife and tons of unique bars, from dive bars to fancy ones as well. No one was overly drinking, and everyone was having a great time until I realized I started my period late into the night and needed to find some feminine products somewhere so we didn't have to Uber home before the night was over. So, this is when the night turns into something unexpected. For context as well, we are all mid-20s and we are all white except for my friend's boyfriend, who is African American. There were 5 of us all walking along the sidewalk, and admittedly, it wasn't the best street we were walking down, but it did have a lot of street lights and there were a few people around. There's my husband and I walking in front with me on the street side. My husband's friend is in the middle, and my best friend and her boyfriend is in the back, with her also on the street side. Well, this man almost shoulder checked me, but I moved out of the way, got close to our friend in the middle, and also dodged the man, and the guy moved in front of my best friend towards her boyfriend and shoulder checked him hard. I didn't see this, but it was what they said. And my best friend screams at the man, "You effing racist," which is when I turn around and I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
This guy just has a vendetta. He just wants
It seems like there's a
he's just mad at the world.
drunken, disorderly man
Who's just mad at
looking
everything.
for a problem.
Yeah, he's just mad at everything.
At that point, the man yells, "Racial slur, I will effing unalive you,"
Oh no.
while reaching into his pocket. Definitely trying to cause problems. I am internally freaking out, and I'm telling everyone to just keep moving. Rightfully, the boyfriend was pissed and angry, and we're all trying to make sure he's okay and to keep him from attempting to fight that man. That is always the best move in pretty much any situation. Do not escalate the conflict unless someone pushes your mom. After a failed search for feminine products, I make do, and we walked to a nearby bar. My best friend and her boyfriend are silently and angrily texting each other the entire way there and up the elevator. Now, I know I probably made the mistake of saying this, but I felt all the tension in the air like a giant rain cloud over everyone. And in an attempt to do what I thought was to calm the situation down, I had said something along the lines of, quote, "Hey, I don't think he was targeting you. That was really messed up, and I'm sorry, but can we please move on?" And then I was yelled at by my best friend, and their anger had increased. Yes, big regret on my part. Yeah, that's not what you do in that situation.
OP's just trying to make the best of the situation. Like, she just got married. So she's like, let's just have fun. Like, but trying to be like, don't worry about it. Move past it. Like, I don't know.
In my head, I wonder how much, well, I get not wanting one thing to weigh everyone down, but was it weighing everyone down? You know what I mean?
It seems like it was weighing everyone down because it was like an awkward situation. Everyone is just like, that was really dumb. And the night's kind of ruined now. If the night once that happens, like it's such a like an event, the night's kind of ruined. Unfortunately, that's gonna be the mindset. You could try and change it, but once you're down, you're down. You can't like, oh man.
I mean, I can't imagine how I'd feel in that situation. I'm sure I'd be livid. Like, what would make me even more upset? Someone telling me like, hey, don't worry about that anymore. You're ruining my night. I'd be like, oh, am I ruining the night? All right, bye. I'm out. Every bar we went to, it was awkward. She spent the entire night trying to console him and no longer was really socializing with me due to this. Side note, she might not be socializing with you because of what you said. Just putting it out there. A series of events occurred, like him not saying a single word the entire night except to her. He spilt water on my head on accident, but it just kept adding up. I wanted to send them home, quite frankly. After we got back home, she spoke to me privately about the situation. I'm intoxicated at the time and apologized if I came off as insensitive, but I was just trying to have a good night. It ended with her scolding me again, telling me I could never understand what struggles they go through and how I just don't understand. And she knew he was targeted and they've had weird experiences the entire time that they've been down here. Well, I started crying and then she raised her voice and told me she could never have a conversation with me because I always start crying. Well, the last few times she decided to talk about something serious with me, we've been drinking. Anyway, I put myself together and then we continued to play a card game and then everyone split off and went to bed. Then all night they were arguing in their room loud enough we could all hear. Why are they arguing?
I don't know. Probably we got to get the context here.
Okay. The only conversation that was had months later, when her and I were admittedly a little drinky on FaceTime, it came up. Terrible timing. I didn't even want to talk about it, honestly. But her stance is that the entire town is racist against interracial couples, and they were stared at the entire time. And I think that guy was just looking to start a fight with anyone. This is a southern town, but it's in a city where the population is majority African American. We were actually in a very progressive city in the South. Some context to their mindset is that they came down with the expectation they were going to be treated differently because his parents did nothing but talk about how racist the South is to both of them. The entire time leading up to this, it felt as though they were waiting for something to happen. She said a restaurant was racist because when the waitress was taking drink orders for the party of 7, they didn't take his, but during that time, his face was down into the menu and he didn't bother to look up. And I know because I was sitting directly across from him. We're all from the Northwestern states except my husband and his friend, so I understand the culture shock from being in the Pacific Northwest and the South is wildly different. I've dated people of color before, and a quarter of my family is African American, and my best male friend at the time is also mixed, so I feel like I have a general understanding of what it's like to be stared at in public by people who have questionable views. I don't know, P, that was a pretty questionable view right there. That's a pretty sweeping generalization for you to make. You're like, I have friends who aren't white, so I think I know what it's like to not be white.
And I'm 1/4 compared to when the boyfriend is full. It's different.
I don't even think she was saying she's 1/4. I think she was just saying a fourth of her family.
Oh, a fourth of her family. Oh, I thought she was 1/4. No. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's just saying like there's people in my family who are African American.
You don't. No, I don't like that.
I don't like that, but you know what I do like?
What do you like?
I like everybody watching this right now joining us when we go live on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch every weekday at 3 p.m. PST. All you got to do is tap our profile and you're in.
Hey, we might even be live right now.
Don't check yet. Wait, we got a little bit left. We're going to recap here, which, I think there could be some truth to the statement that the guy that ran into them was just looking to start a fight with anybody. However, he immediately escalated it into basically a hate crime.
Yeah, because again, at the very beginning, he shoulder checked OP, right?
I think he was trying to. There was a whole chart that we could have written about where people were standing.
He tried to shoulder check someone and then split up the group and then shoulder checked
I think he was going to try to shoulder check one of the girls to then make one of the men like get angry. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
that guy sucks.
But he immediately made it about race when he used a slur and threatened their well-being. Like, so, then wanting to be the voice of like, oh, let's try to make everyone happy. It's like, I think just telling them that they weren't actually targeted and that they should just start moving on from it already. You let them process it at whatever rate they're going to process it at.
OP, it's weird, but like OP has a little bit of privilege.
Of course. Yeah, you have the privilege of being able to say, getting racial slurred didn't affect me at all because I'm white. Of course you can move on from that, OP.
OP said, I can generalize this. Like, I can see the context.
Yeah.
Like, no.
I guess overall, I'm still not sure how to process this. My wedding anniversary's coming up again, and it's on my mind again. I'm even thinking about seeking therapy over this to understand why this still affects me so much. I don't like to think I have any internal racism going on, but this situation has me questioning myself. I'm sad when I look back on my wedding day because I just remember how the night went and the most awkward week ever following that. I never received an apology from him, and I don't want one for him being upset by the situation, but at least for his behavior that following week. And that is the end of that story.
That's a poopy taste in my mouth.
It's like you're so close to almost getting it, and then like you're like not.
But that's the thing. I just don't like saying it, but like, again, the privilege. You're just privileged because you don't understand racism. Again, as someone who's experienced racism and all that stuff, it sucks. Guess what? I have friends who just don't understand it. Or like, they're like, oh, okay, that sucks. But like, it's different layers. And getting privilege. It sucks. That's how it is. There should be a little bit more empathy from OP.
Yeah. Like they're privileged in that their ignorance, they've been able to just get by being that ignorant their whole life. But that's the end of that story.
My fiance's boss's wife is a liar. I refuse to have her at my wedding. Ooh, cheating involved?
Your boss's wife?
Oh no. Me, 28 female, and my fiance, 29 male, got engaged in July of this year. We immediately started planning, booked a venue, and are slowly getting things into place. We're pretty mutual on the guest list as we have both met each other's friends and family, bar the extended family of mine because it's basically the size of a medium army. By the way, this comes from Winnie Friend on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So the conversation has brought up a few times of work colleagues coming to the wedding. He's met a fair few of mine through small events and after work drinks, and I've met a few of his in similar situations, including his managing director. I have never met his MD's wife, but I know she also works at his business. She's head of accounting, but seems to think she's a chief operating officer, despite that not being her position.
Yeah. Go back to your numbers, book lady.
Know your place. That's what OP's saying. I've heard things about her. From what I gather, she's not the nicest woman, and it's not because she's a tough boss. She's very much a person that is do as I say, not as I do. Gotta love those kind of people. On top of this, I have never once had a conversation with her, and even at one point, I saw my fiance in town and said hi, and she was there, and she didn't even acknowledge me. He says it's because she didn't know who I was, but the fact that I walked up to him and kissed him should have been a big enough hint.
Yeah, that's not even a hint. That's like a big flashing sign.
Hey, maybe she was like, oh, that's a mistress I'm going to disrespect.
That could be.
Now, for the story that has made me point blank not want her at the wedding. Around the pandemic times, after the second lockdown, my fiance was asked to go out and meet some clients. One of his clients were based in my hometown, so I asked if I could go with him so I could visit my mom. We were driving around to get some breakfast from unnamed fast food place, and I got caught on a roundabout. When we went to pull off, we got stuck in fifth gear, so we had to call a mechanic to come grab the car as the gear selector cable had broken. He called his bosses to let them know that he wasn't going to be able to drive out that day. His CEO was fine with it because, these things happen, and let him take the day off. Whilst we were waiting for the tow vehicle, his CEO must have told his wife what had happened. I think for some reason she didn't believe my fiance, so not long after that, he got a call from her and she was asking where exactly he was. My fiance, very confused, told her and asked her why, of which she had no reason to call, and then hung up. We were both so puzzled, but didn't think much of it. Fast forward, the tow van came and he dropped us and the car back to our house. Not even 15 minutes after being in this house, the CEO called and asked him to go into the office because they needed him in work. Again, this is weird, but my fiance caught the tram into work and left me confused as to what was going on. An hour or so later, he called me up and I could tell he was raging. He told me that his boss and his wife called him into a meeting to interrogate him because they didn't believe his car wasn't drivable. He was so insulted, rightfully so, that he asked why they'd ever think that he'd lie about that. We were in a time where people would use having the sickness of the pandemic as a get out of jail card for work so often that if he really wanted to, he'd just have to call in and say that if he didn't want to work. He told me the managing director's wife told him that she walked from their house with their dogs to our exact spot where we'd broken down and didn't see us, so she knew he was lying. Wow. Literally took her dogs to walk to the spot where his car had broken down. It was like, actually, I didn't see you there. So like, you're like totally like a liar and I got you.
Yeah, they're like, if your car's not working, why aren't you in it? Am I wrong? Is that not what she's saying?
Is your refrigerator running?
Yeah.
Good.
That's what they always say.
Good. It was at this point I heard his voice crack and I knew he was a whole new level of angry. I then started to get angry because they'd pushed him to that, and he then went on to tell me they threatened to fire him if they found out he was lying and then sent him off his way to work for the rest of the day. Wow. Now, ladies, I know you can relate when I tell you there's no feeling that matches the maternal rage of wanting to protect a loved one that's been hurt. In that moment, I was ready to go into his office and throw hands with this bee, but I reframed. I spoke with him and calmed him down because they really weren't worth rising to. I made him put in writing that he won't be going out to visit clients free of charge anymore, and he is to be paid additional by the mile, and they would have to supplement for the business expense of the car insurance, of which I think they threw him a bit because he was their only sales runner, but they did agree. Fast forward again, my fiance and his MD talked things out after he realized that he was telling the truth and his boss apologized. You think his wife would apologize, but did she? Dakota, do we think the wife who, after the CEO said it was fine, was like, no, we need to torture you, you're a liar? Do you think she's going to be like, you know what, my bad, you were totally in the right and that was totally my fault?
No, because she's going to be like, oh, I walked past your car, it looked fine. I've seen your car, it looks drivable.
You're not only lying in front of God, you're lying in front of my dogs.
Not the dogs.
Those are my dogs.
How
Not the dogs.
dare you? No, not at all. I got curious as to how she saw us, and after going to his MD's house once, I decided to bring up Google Maps how long it would take to walk from their house to the spot we broke down. We're doing some investigation over here,
we're
okay?
doing some high school math problems where it's like, if the distance between point A and point B is relative to blah, blah, blah. It's been a long time. I don't remember.
It's like, who would do that in the math equation? And like, oh, now I'm the person in the math equation.
Yeah.
Right. And guess how long it was, Dakota?
I don't know.
2 hours. It would take 2 hours, and you'll want to know how long we were waiting for recovery, folks? 45 minutes. There was no way she walked to us, not unless she's the bloody Flash. After I found out she lied, I despised her for having the audacity to call my man a liar when she stood there, made him feel like crap, all whilst lying herself. So now you know the backstory. You can understand why I don't want her near my wedding. I told my fiance I didn't want her there based on that story, the fact that she's never apologized, and the fact that I've never spoken to her, and that she's a horrible human. He told me that he just wants me to suck it up because basically he wants his boss there, and she won't let him come if she isn't invited. It is the boss's wife.
Why do you want your boss there? Let's be real.
True.
Why do you want your boss at your wedding? I have no desire for any of my boss. I mean, well, except for with some exception. Maybe with some exception now. Actually, now I can think there's three. Okay, I guess I'm not a good sample size.
You've been doing this all day, brother.
I'm not a good sample for this because now I thought about it. There's three bosses that I would.
Yes.
Technically four.
Yes.
Well, what's the percentage though? How many total bosses are we talking?
Oh, that's like not even. That's like maybe 10% of my bosses.
Okay, so only a 10% passing rate.
Yeah.
That's still,
Pretty low.
Opie said, that's stupid. He's a grown man who can do what he wants. Uh-oh. And if either of them need an explanation, they are welcome to talk to me about that. My fiance then got mad and told me he wouldn't be able to invite anyone from his work if they didn't come. I asked why, and he said it would be awkward in work afterwards. I told him if it's awkward, then that's down to his boss's wife, not us, and that she shouldn't be such an a-hole. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? You shouldn't be an a-hole.
That's
because you can listen to full episodes with stories like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast player and search OK Storytime. Don't be an a-hole, guys.
That's all you got to do.
Don't do it.
And then you get the no a-hole seal of approval.
Ooh, everyone wants that.
John himself.
Let's talk about the story here. Dakota. I'm thinking everyone sucks here. Do you agree? Because fiance was like, I can invite whoever I want. I'm gonna bet my boss and everyone will be awkward if I don't invite everyone.
I do kind of get that, where it's like it could be
Boss
awkward. It depends on the company. It depends on what kind of job it is. We don't really know anything about it. He's in sales. They can get very cliquey. Like
I was just gonna say, hey, this is your wedding. Do we need to use it for? It sounds like he's like politicking with the company, and it's like, you know what? Just enjoy the day, maybe.
Yeah, it's like, but then if you do have friends that you want from your job that you're like that you would want there, then it does make it hard because if you don't want the boss feeling like you don't like him, because then he's not gonna like you. It's just like, it's a fact. You never want your boss to not like you because it's going to make your job more miserable. Like, that's just the way that's the natural order of things. But I don't think necessarily, the problem here isn't even the boss, it's his wife. So
yes.
If you can have a contingency that somehow keeps the wife from like becoming like the COO of the wedding, or should I say the fake COO of the wedding. She's like, I have some numbers to crunch here. Let's really crunch the numbers on your wedding.
You know what? She's the CFO. Chief Fake Officer.
Yeah, she fake.
Can't crunch any numbers there.
CFO, she fake officer.
Chief Fake Officer. So Opie says he then switched on me and said it was my fault and that I was being too stubborn and I should just let her come to the wedding. I've held my ground and said no, but now I feel bad because just like me, he's stubborn. He said he won't invite anyone from his work who we actually would want there because I don't want his boss's wife there and I don't want him to do that. I don't know what to do because he does have some lovely colleagues, but I can't stand his boss's wife. Am I the a-hole? Actually, yeah, everyone sucks but OP. That's what I meant to say earlier.
I don't know. Why is OP so concerned about it? Like, the boss, I mean, it's not even, OP doesn't work there. OP didn't have to go into the office and be accused of being a liar. OP is just caught up on the fact that the wife hasn't apologized, which, who cares? Her apology would be meaningless because she probably wouldn't even mean it.
True. To play devil's advocate, I would say it's like, hey, you don't want someone you don't like or you feel brings negative energy to you at your wedding. Well, let's see. We got a little bit of the story left, or some relevant commenters, I might say, who might have their own take. Comment number 1, inviting someone who is consistently cold and rude to your fiance to your wedding may have unintended consequences. Think about how their behavior could impact your fiance's work environment and relationships with colleagues, including the MD in the long run. That's so funny. I thought they were saying the opposite, like, think about how it might make, like OP feel to have someone at their wedding, but they're like, no, think about fiance's work life, like being ruined for the rest of his career.
You can't let you can't mess the money up. You can't mess the money up because then this person's winning. All this goes back to like, there's this weird, it like circles all the way back around. And if you like make all these decisions over one person who you don't want to be around, they're still winning. They're still, they're impacting your life so much that now you're making decisions just based upon their existence.
This is impossible for me. Commenter says it's possible that you may not even interact with the MD's wife during the wedding, and she may not even attend the ceremony. So ask yourself, is standing firm on inviting her really worth potentially jeopardizing your fiance's work life and causing him undue stress and anxiety? Consider what's more important to you, being right or ensuring your fiance's happiness and well-being. Do you want him to be calling you every week anxious and upset because of the uncomfortable work environment you've created? Take a step back and think about the potential long-term effects of your decision. Is inviting someone who is rude to your fiance really worth the risk? I understand your reason, and my petty self would call her lie out, but him having a job is worth more than calling her out. I'm still undecided, but that's a convincing argument, but we're going to get into commenter number 2. If your fiance won't stand up and have a firm professional boundary with these people, I don't think you should be fighting that battle. This is sticky. I do understand where you're coming from.
Nice.
I did that for Dakota.
Nice.
I wouldn't want them to be there either. Why is your fiance hell-bent on having them there? Image/promo seems like too much. So we've got kind of like one take from each side here so far.
I can answer that. And it's because it's not in a vacuum. It's like because if you invite everyone but your boss is going to find out. Your boss is going to, and then that impacts your work. I don't even think it's about like making himself look good or getting a promotion. It's literally just, if we don't invite him, we can't invite the rest of my friends from work, who I would assume you'd want to be at your wedding.
Comment number 3. Invite them and put them at a table by the kitchen at reception. Comment number 4. Meh. For your fiance's sake, invite the troll. When she tries to congratulate you, look her up and down and walk off. But I'm just a petty biatch.
Yeah, just give her the look her up. Yeah, I'd be proud of me too.
See ya. And that's it. Goodbye.
See ya. I told my fiance that if we don't get married, it's his family's fault.
Oh, wait, what?
It's on the family.
It's on the family?
It's on the family.
We're talking about family.
I, 26 female, and my fiance have been together for 3 years, and we have a 1-year-old child. His family has always had something to say about our relationship, even when we first started dating. We got engaged last year when we found out I was 7 weeks pregnant. But before I agreed to accept the proposal, I told him my boundaries and expectations. I also wanted him to sign a prenup and a postnup. He agreed to them and would also have his own. By the way, this comes from user Melons Are Melon on the r/OK Storytime subreddit.
I guess they are.
So, now our first child just turned 1, and we were planning to start planning for our wedding. It was gonna be small with just immediate family and very close friends. We have scheduled time off to start checking out venues, and I guess he told his parents about our plan, and unsurprisingly, they were not happy. They wanted us to have a big wedding so they can invite all the family.
It's, again, what do I say about weddings?
My wedding, my rules.
Them's is the rules. You do whatever you want. You don't want to be there? Don't come.
They were upset that we didn't ask them what they wanted. I told my fiance that it's not their wedding, therefore we're gonna do what we want.
I love it. I love it.
This is where the disconnect happens. He sided with them.
I don't love it.
And said his family deserved to be invited to our special day. But that's not the only problem. He disclosed to his parents that I'm also making him sign a prenup and a postnup. They said it was disgraceful and unwomanly of me. They told him to force me out of it. As I said, his parents have also had something to say about our relationship. Like I shouldn't be making more money than him, or I should put his name on the condo. Normally, it's settled through a text or a phone call, and it'll be peaceful for a while, but this is something different. I no longer feel comfortable marrying him since it doesn't seem like he'll ever step up and stand up for our relationship. I feel like I'm going to end up marrying him and his family, which low-key is kind of what you do every time.
I mean, that's what you do.
You're marrying into a family.
You're going to be a daughter-in-law.
So the only difference is how much contact does said partner have with their family.
That's the case.
The family's still there. You're still marrying into the family that he doesn't have any contact with, if that's the case.
They're going to be your brother-in-law, sister-in-law, father-in-law, mother-in-law. They're going to be your family.
Even if you don't talk to them.
So you're going to have to deal with it. It's just, at the end of the day, that's your partner. What's best for you and him. Or them, whoever.
Our scheduled time off is approaching this Monday, and I don't know how to tell him that I no longer feel like marrying him, that it's because of his family. I know he loves them and I admire him for it, but how can I be okay with this when he loves them more than our own family that we created together? This has been eating me up inside because I feel like I'll be breaking our family apart, but I just don't know what to do. I'm afraid to reach out to our mutuals because I'm not the type to really talk stuff about my relationship. Please give me some insight or something. I do love this man and I don't want to tear apart our family, but I also don't want to suffer from trying to keep it together. I was not expecting this to get this much attention. My email was full of notifications. Hopefully I didn't end up in anyone's feed and trigger them. I'm really just at a loss. And here's some bullet points. What they said is normally relayed to me or shown to me by my fiance, which is why I didn't think that he sided with them because I can see his responses. Then normally I'll tell her, mom or dad, or I will see what I can do. Compromising is a big aspect of relationships, and I did nothing but compromise. I tried to accommodate him and his parents from our anniversary to our vacations and what we do for our household. I drew the line when I became pregnant and they demanded I become a stay-at-home mom. So many people think contraception works 100% of the time, and it does not. My Nexplanon baby is a year old. As for me getting pregnant by him, it wasn't planned. While I support women's rights, I personally wouldn't make the choice for myself. When he agreed to my boundaries and expectations, I asked him what were his so that both sides are equally heard. He told me his, which none of them included his parents. That is the only reason why I agreed to them. I disclosed about wanting a prenup and a postnup and suggested that he did the same, which he told me he would have on his own. I offered to have my lawyer assist him, and he declined and said that he would get his own. We both agreed on having them. The wedding plans were closely discussed with just me and him. What did we want? What are our expectations? And what is our budget? We were the ones paying for it, not my family, despite my dad practically begging me to let them because it's become a family tradition. My fiancé was not comfortable with it, and he said it felt like it would emasculate him if it seemed like he couldn't afford his own wedding. We sat down with my dad, and my dad said he understood and respected it. We did come to an agreement that my dad would at least pay for my wedding dress. My fiancé agreed to that. So when that was all settled, me and my fiancé started discussing budgets. He said $15,000 would be his ideal, and I agreed that it was a good price range and very doable. Now this is where it gets tricky. He wants a destination wedding, which is why I suggested a small wedding. Yes, I suggested it, and not because I didn't want his family to be there, but because I'm considering the financial aspects for our guests. He agreed that it would be expensive for his side. I was the one that suggested we do it in country, just in another state, and we can plan to drive to get his family or fly them out. I told him this would be more accommodating because I agreed that his family deserves to be there. I worked way too hard in school to get my degree, to get my license, and to get where I'm at. I was financially responsible for every penny that I spent. I grew up with parents who wanted financial literacy and independence for their kids. Before my fiancé came into the picture, I made sure all my baggage was packed and covered. The condo we call home is a gift to myself. I suggested couples therapy, but he refused. I suggested therapy for all of us, me, him, and his parents. He refused because it would be disrespectful. I suggested that we all just have a sit down and set boundaries. He said it would come off as aggression. This guy just doesn't want to do any work.
I don't hear anything in the terms of compromise here. Sorry.
Yeah, he just says, no, I don't want to do that. That would be hard.
You gave him a bunch of options and he said no.
I asked him many times throughout our entire relationship if he felt the same way as they did, and he denied it. He said that he knows they can be unreasonable and unrealistic, but they're his parents, so he tries his best to honor them. I suggested that I should have just sit down with his parents, and he got upset and said I was going too far. So yeah, I'm at a loss. I don't know what to do here because neither of the choices I've got in my head are appealing, and we do have an update.
It sounds like this is not healthy. You're not getting anything you want in this relationship or getting a say. Anything that you bring up is just completely smushed right then and there, and you don't have a voice. That's what it sounds like. That is not fair. That is not a relationship. Get out of this before it gets worse.
Yeah, it's I wonder where that belief of like if you try to get us in a therapy session with my parents, that would be disrespectful, or it would be interpreted as disrespectful. And it's like, what's so disrespectful about wanting to get on the same page as everybody? Everybody wants to get on the same page.
I was gonna say, what if OP's parents came into this and were like, oh, we want to do family therapy, and guess what? He's just like, no. But OP is doing whatever the parents want, or at least trying to compromise what the parents want. It's just not fair. It's just, wow, what a joke this is.
I've tried to read as many comments as I can throughout the day. I'm sorry if I couldn't get to all of you, and I will say some of you are distasteful. You have so much hate. I've decided that I will talk with him tonight before we go to bed. It's physically impossible to just wait. I feel like I'm going through withdrawal symptoms. And plus, he's been asking me all day if something was going on, so please pray for me. And by the way, you can come pray for us if you want on our live stream every weekday at 3 p.m. PST when we go live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and TikTok. All you got to do is tap on our profile on any of those respective platforms, and you are in. And if you're watching this, we might be live right now, but don't go check yet because we're about to finish this story. I feel like if this is the way he is with his parents now, it's probably going to be the way he is with his parents
forever.
If
he's not standing up to
his parents. You guys are 33. So the only way that can change is probably through therapy.
Which he doesn't want to do.
Right. So that's a tough spot.
Again, it seems like what you said it before, OP. You're not just marrying him, you're marrying his family. Like, yes, you're getting into their family, but you're marrying his parents.
Yeah, and you're marrying the guy that they made. So he's probably going to end up like them in certain ways as well.
Yeah.
You know?
If this is
that
as stressful as it is now, just imagine years. Or when if you guys have kids and they are demanding and making them, like, being very controlling with your kids.
It really is crazy
I mean, you already have one, and
like,
it seems like it.
All right, let's go. Let's finish this story off. I saw that many of you wanted an update, so here I am again. You guys have become my diary. We had the talk, and it did not turn out the way I prayed for. A lot happened within those hours of talking, but it ultimately led to him becoming physical and destructive. My family is now involved, and so are the police. I'm still trying to recollect my thoughts and calm my mind, and I've got this unbearable ache deep in my chest that makes my stomach drop. God, well, that's the worst possible twist this story could have had.
Out of left field.
But at least, hey, at least you avoided the, at least now you know this guy's real colors. Yeah. For now, this is all the update while I pick myself up. I promise I'll come back and give you guys the whole update. Thank you to everyone. And we don't have any more updates.
Whoa.
Do we? Can you check real quick?
I can try.
Here, actually, I'll check. Hold on. I can do it real fast. We do not have an update yet. Or unless, let's see. Did you comment on it? Nope. No updates yet. No updates. 0 updates. Dang. I crossed paths with my ex-fiance's mistress after 12 years. I'm telling her new husband everything.
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 12 years ago, I, 36 female, was engaged and about to get married to Carl with a K. Everything in my life seemed perfect until I found out my fiance was having an affair with a new hire at his job called Camilla, 20s female. Both of them were in serious relationships. By the way, this comes from user throwaway fiance cheat on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So I broke off the engagement with Carl as soon as I found out and told Camilla's boyfriend about the cheating.
Wow. The end.
Someone who knows what to do?
The end.
Crazy.
That's it.
Well, it was hard for me, but I moved on after months of therapy and the help of my friends and family. Now I'm married to Henry, 41 male, my amazing husband and father of our 4 children, 9, 7, 4, and 4 respectively. 2 boys, 2 girls.
Wow.
Congratulations. I moved to the other side of the country years ago and never thought about my ex-fiance or the cheating again. My husband works in a law firm. Last year, they hired a new lawyer, Daniel, 34 male, who moved with his family to live in our area. He and my husband became very good friends as they have similar interests and personalities. Henry asked me to invite Daniel's family to our house to help adjust to the new city and jobs. When Daniel came to my house for a play date for our kids, his kids are 4 male and 2 female, he introduced us to his wife, Cam, 30 female. Well, Cam was Camilla. I really didn't know how to react when I recognized her. I had the impression that she also recognized me. Our husbands didn't understand why everything seemed so tense, and we pretended to not know each other and made fail attempts at small talk. After an hour, Cam made up an excuse and her family left. Henry noticed my behavior and asked me what was happening. I told him everything. He already knew about my past with Carl and the affair. Later that day, I received a text from Camilla begging me not to tell Daniel about our past. Wow. You're barking up the wrong tree, Camilla.
Oh.
I read the message and didn't reply. But I decided to not say anything and mind my own business. This was not my problem anymore. After a week of silence, Daniel shows up at our doorstep looking very agitated. He talked to my husband alone, and afterwards, Henry asked me to tell Daniel my version of everything. Like my husband, Daniel realized something weird happened on our meeting and spent the week trying to get answers from his wife. She refused to tell him what happened and then tried to say I was her ex-boyfriend's side chick, and that's why we were so tense.
Why do people like to lie? Why do people dig these deep, dark lies?
That is a desperate one, too.
Yeah.
That is like,
if I tell them this lie, they won't find out. They'll never go to the person with the truth. They'll never do that. They'll just listen to me.
sometimes a hard truth is better than an ugly lie. I mean, more often than not.
It's just all ugly.
Are you proud of me? I made that up on the spot.
I'm always proud of you.
A hard truth's better than an ugly lie, baby boy. Daniel didn't buy this story, and they had a massive fight about it. After the fight, he realized I was the one that could tell him the truth, and I did tell him everything after he asked. I even showed him the text message Camilla sent me. I didn't feel the need to sugarcoat things since Camilla was out there telling lies about me. Daniel was in complete shock because cheating is a trigger for him. His father cheated on his mom for years and left the family for his mistress, which made him hate cheaters. Camilla knew about this since their first date.
You're the worst. You're literally a villain.
Oh, Camilla, you deserve this. You deserve this.
You
Camilla.
deserve nothing.
No, you deserve this. I'm sorry. Daniel left our house looking defeated, and in the same day, I received a call from Camilla accusing me of being a revengeful bee. She said I was trying to destroy her life. I don't think I was wrong for telling the truth, but this happened last year, and I received calls and random messages from people close to Camilla saying I'm an a-hole for exposing Camilla's past to her husband. Am I the a-hole? Newsflash, Camilla, your husband was already on to you.
Hey, what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
And Camilla is what goes around and comes around.
Still not taking responsibilities for our actions, I see, Camilla.
It would have been all the better if you just told the truth and not put OP under the bus, under the rug.
Part of me can understand not saying that you basically destroyed someone's marriage on your first date, because regardless of people's past misdeeds, sometimes we all have to give them the benefit of the doubt that they can change for the better, but this person is clearly not doing that. This person is clearly not doing that. Anyway, here's some relevant comments. Commenter number 1, not the a-hole. You told the truth after she told lies. Did she expect you to go along with what she said so you could be the bad guy for as long as your husband and Daniel are workmates? OP said, I don't know what she was thinking. I have no reason to lie to cover her. Commenter 2 says, not the a-hole. You're the hero of this story. Actions have consequences. You did nothing wrong and merely stated facts and truth about what happened between Camilla and your ex-fiancé. It would have been wrong for you to lie to Daniel, as he deserved to know the truth to make an informed end decision. If it were you, I'm sure you would have wanted the same consideration, as I know I definitely would have. Text Camilla, sorry to hear about you and Daniel, but hey, maybe you and Carl can get something going again. That would actually be a great petty text message.
You should do that.
OP says, funny thing is after our engagement broke off, she did try to date Carl and he kicked her to the curb. I heard this from mutual friends. Commenter 3 says, the affair relationship never stands on its own legs once it comes to light. It's much easier, exciting to be sneaking around versus the grind of a normal adult relationship. That and Carl probably just wanted the physical part and nothing to do with her as a person. OP says, yeah, I'm sure that Carl and her didn't have much to do after both of them stopped leeching off from their loving partners. Camilla's ex was a great guy. And how did Camilla get OP's cell phone number? OP says from Daniel's phone. We have texted about setting up for the play date for our kids. Henry gave him my number. Commenter 4 says, not the a-hole. You literally tried to help her by not revealing her secret, which is kinder than most people, because I know I would have told her the second I see her face in my house, you're not welcome here. But she had the chance to be honest with her husband multiple times. On the first date, when he reveals his feelings about cheaters, when he first asks and then afterwards, but she still kept lying, which means she hasn't grown or healed or improved. So, who she is as a person, since she was the mistress of your former fiance, she's still that person. I just hope Daniel is doing okay. OP says, I would never do a scene at my house, especially because deep down, I'm very relieved that I didn't marry Carl. So exactly what you said. Hey, you know what? I've been reading a book called The Alchemist, and I'll just say this, everything happens for a reason. I'm happy with Henry and our children. Cammie is just a memory from the past. Seeing her having marriage problems is not something I enjoy. Update, blah, blah, blah. First, this is not a fake story. The only thing that's fake are the names, and I am not AI. Second, I don't think cheaters must be punished forever.
I'm sorry. That's something AI would say.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not AI.
But that's illegal. They're not allowed to say that. They're not allowed to be deceptive.
Okay. Sorry. Go back to reading.
Update. First, this is not a fake story. The only thing that's fake are the names. I am also not an artificial intelligence. Second, I don't think cheaters must be punished forever, which might be a hot take, but I agree with that in most cases.
People learn. People, if they make mistakes, and people can learn as long as they...
I think the key word is punished forever. It's like, I don't think that you should ever have the right, or like where it's like, all right, enough time has passed, now you can come back. It's like, that's always going to be up to the person's was betrayed. It's going to be their decision. But they don't need to be penitent. Like, very seldomly would I say a lifetime of penance is what is owed for infidelity.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Most of the time.
You work on yourself.
be better.
While I would probably never want to be close friends with Camilla after the initial shock, I would have no issues being civil with her. I don't think she deserves to live through a never-ending heck because she was awful years ago. I also don't think that she was the worst person. Carl definitely was. He was the one who was about to marry me, but she was also a willing part of the affair, and she knew me from their office. Also, everybody there knew Carl was living with me and that we were engaged. Third, Camilla got my number from Daniel's phone. I have a pretty uncommon last name, and my name is not popular either. Daniel got my number from me. Henry gave me his contact to set up a dinner date to introduce our families. I texted him. We have already met sometimes on the office and at my house when he came by with Henry. Daniel texted me back about setting up our plans for the kids' play date, and that's that. My husband didn't give Camilla my number. At the time this all happened, my husband had seen her just once while at the office with Daniel. The fact that Camilla had access to her husband's phone is not weird to me. Her actions were. So I guess that was pretext. Here's the actual update. Daniel and Camilla are not divorced. After leaving our house, Daniel stayed at a hotel for a while. Then he got back to his house and they started doing couples therapy. The harassment through calls and text lasted over a month. Henry was about to send a cease and desist when he decided to talk to Daniel about this, and Daniel handled it. What I know through Henry is that most of Camilla's flying monkeys didn't know the full story, and when Daniel set things straight, they stopped. Camilla emailed me months after apologizing. I accepted her apology, but we are not close, and I don't feel like her words were genuine. Most likely, she just wants to save her marriage. I think your instincts are right on the money there, OP.
Easy.
Talking about their marriage, Daniel and I talked some months after this at a party in my house, and I told him that I feel terrible for my part in their marital problems, and he reassured me. Daniel said that they were already having issues before we met, and it seems like she wasn't happy about moving here and leaving her family on the other side of the country. Also, they were having money problems because their old state had a higher cost of living. Since Camilla left work after she got pregnant with their second child, they had less money, and cutting costs on their lifestyle was making them fight. The move to our state made sense because it was a better position with a good raise. And you know what's a great position to be in no matter what situation you're in?
What's that?
Being in our live streams.
Oh.
When we go live every weekday at 3 p.m. PST on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch. All you have to do is tap our profile
Tap it.
and you're in. But before you go check if we're live right now, which we might be, let's finish our story here. We do have a little bit left. I think, OP's kind of got the Zen Buddhist sort of style
You took the words right out of my mouth.
moving through a situation like this.
OP's not holding on to any grudges. OP's just like, hey, that's your problem. That's your issue. I don't want to be a problem in anyone's life. Just let me live my life. That's all OP wants to do. And she's like, I don't care. That's great.
Being unbothered by other people's like petty nonsense is a fantastic way to move through life.
Yeah.
And I do think it's funny that the way you brought up, like, wow, she might be like, if it wasn't for me, you would have never met Henry. And before she never even said that. OP was like, honestly, like, I'm glad you kind of did that because Carl sucked.
Yeah.
And now I'm with Henry, who's way better than him.
Best, yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of, I think it's a great way to move because it also like minimizes the mess and any of the collateral damage. Like you're just like, look, I could either be mad at you and be feisty and be petty and
make things even more awkward and difficult.
Just put more negative energy into my life.
And OP's like, yeah, OP's the type of woman she's like, nah, I think I'm gonna do my own thing.
All right, well, let's swing into the rest of this story. Spider-Man. I don't know much else about their situation, just that recently Henry told me Daniel was depressed after a big fight they had about Thanksgiving. Camilla wanted to travel to their old state to stay with her family, and Daniel wanted to visit his mother, who lives closer. Everybody in the office knows about their fight since Daniel asked to stay at a co-worker's place. Daniel told Henry directly that he would start divorce proceedings because on their last fight, Camilla was talking about taking the kids and moving back closer to her parents. Well, I love it when using the kids as a bargaining chip I love when using the kids as a bargaining chip tool like blows up in your face.
Using the kids as like a divorce weapon is terrible.
Yeah. He said that she will not have full custody of his kids. And that's basically all I know. And I don't really know if Daniel will go through with the divorce, but we do have some relevant comments here. Wow, that took a turn, but I'm glad you're doing better. I did a spit take at the flying monkeys comment as I was reading, which, yeah, that was a pretty funny way to say that. Thankfully, I was drinking water at the time, or that would have ended poorly. Camilla sounds like a trip. I'd normally comment, but I'm going to pass this time. Did you not make this comment?
Yeah, I was like, if I can make a comment, makes a full-on comment.
Yeah. Anyway, hope you're doing well and in a good space. Taking the kids, moving back closer to your parents, and the fights about their finances are not exactly the best signs for their family either. OP says, yeah, I came to the conclusion that they are having much bigger issues than in our previous post. And we do have just some more stuff, basically.
Just supporting OP.
Yeah, but
Camilla
that
sucks, yeah.
essentially that is the end of our story.
My brother is getting married, but I think I should warn his fiance.
Ooh, that's always a good thing to get right before you get married. A nice, healthy warning.
Yeah. I mean, it's how you bless proper marriage.
Yeah.
You warn them. I, 22-year-old female, have a younger brother, 20-year-old male, who started dating his current girlfriend about a year ago. I have no general problems with her. She is a sweet girl, seems like she means well, and gets along with the family. Initially, I had no problems with her, and even now, I still don't have any real issues with her. And by the way, this comes from you-remarkable ostrich 16 on the ROK Storytime subreddit. So here's where things get murky for me. My brother and his girlfriend, let's call her Alice, started dating a couple of months after my brother, let's call him Braden, got back from boot camp for the Marine Corps. After coming home, he had decided that he wanted to go on a Mormon mission. This was before he met his girlfriend. Him and Alice began dating 3 months before he was set to leave on his mission. If you don't already know, you're not supposed to date while you're on your mission, so I worried this would end up bleeding into his journey for his service to God. As a side note, I am not religious, but am supportive of my family and what they want to believe in. They're like, I don't believe in your code of conduct of your religion, but at least follow it.
Yeah, they're like, I'm not religious, but if you're gonna be,
like, do it right.
Please do it right.
Yeah.
Come on.
I don't believe in the Mormon church and do not participate, but you better win Mormonism. My entire family is active Mormon. Anyways, I thought they would cool things down once he left for his mission back in January. But if anything, it seems things just continued. I wouldn't have an issue with this as I don't care about the Mormon church, but my brother has made it his mission to force Alice into the family while he's gone. As I said before, she's a sweet girl and I don't have a problem with her. I guess I feel uncomfortable being forced to spend time with her at family events when they only dated for 3 months before he left. Braden pressures my parents into inviting her to everything, and it's a bit of a shock when she shows up at intimate family dinners. So this isn't to say that I would feel the same way if my brother was home and they were dating. My issue comes from being in a completely different county, supposed to be somewhat isolated from what's happening outside of his mission. I think from him being in a completely different, I think they meant country.
Yeah.
My thing is, he should have just stayed home. He's been gone less than a year, and he's talking about leaving his mission early so he could come home and marry Alice. It just worries me a bit because she is such a sweet girl, and I know my brother, and he isn't the nicest person. He bullied me all growing up, and I figured he would grow out of it when he got older and matured. That's what I thought. It feels like he's only gotten meaner. He doesn't treat my family well, but I seem to be the only one that stands up to him while everyone else just seemingly ignores him, which just enables his behavior. He will be belittling me or my younger brother, and no one will say anything. The only time they speak up is when I get frustrated and set my boundary with him, and they tell me I should calm down. He's just like that. It's very frustrating. I guess my feelings are more revolved around my brother and our relationship more than Alice and her as a person. My mom has told me that he's basically planning his wedding while he's on his mission, and he will text her and tell her to look into wedding stuff when he should be focusing on his mission. She's made it sound as though he feels he will come home and be entitled to their dream wedding. My parents aren't going to take care of and pay for everything. My parents only covered the venue for my wedding as well as my older sister, so I'm not sure where he's getting this idea. The venue's, expensive.
It's a
part of it.
sizable chunk.
Yeah.
It's not everything though, but it's a lot.
Yeah. He tells her that he's going to come home, get married, and buy a house. He doesn't even have a car, and maybe he has savings that I don't know about to my knowledge, but he doesn't have a big savings account, which makes my mom believe that he's going to expect them to help him. For some additional context, and possibly why this upsets me so much, my parents haven't financially supported me once I got past 18. I was on my own after that point. I met a nice person and got married where me and my husband paid for almost everything on our own. We bought a house the same year with savings my husband had set aside. Now we're currently pregnant with our first baby. Braden wasn't able to come to our wedding, which was sad for us since he was in the Marines, but when he came home, it seemed he only had bad things to say. He made fun of the home we bought. When we told him we were pregnant, he said our baby would be born the same month as he was born, saying his birth month is a superior month.
Dude, how jealous and insecure could you possibly be?
Yeah, he's like, sorry, November is my month.
That's my month's better than your month.
Yeah.
Nanny, nanny, boo, boo.
He's like, can you delay the birth?
What's really getting me is how do you insult someone after becoming a homeowner? I feel like that's so
like when he's like, your house sucks.
Yeah, where it's like, yeah, where's your house, dude?
Yeah.
Did you leave it on the mission?
Oh.
No, what are you doing? What are we talking about?
So he also does this thing with my nieces where he tells them he's their favorite uncle and makes them say it back to him, but no one says anything.
Dude, this guy's weird now.
Maybe it's harmless, but it really frustrates me, and I'm just not ready to have to deal with that with my own children. I've already told my mom that if I need to, I will distance myself from Brayden because of how toxic he can be. If my family said anything and put him in his place once in a while, maybe I wouldn't be so inclined to feel this strongly, but I worry that no one will have my back when I attempt to set boundaries with him. I can deal with his antics, but I don't want my kids to have to put up with it, especially because they won't understand what's going on. I have to protect them and be their example of how you should treat people. All this to say, it really doesn't have anything to do with Alice, as she is genuinely a sweet girl, but more to do with my brother. I feel bad not getting close to her, but with how things have been going with Brayden, it's really hard to want to get close to Alice. It's to the point where I worry there will come a day after our baby is born where I won't be able to tolerate being with my entire family at the same time. I am the black sheep and I do my best to just be family, but I always feel left out and uncomfortable. Shout out OP. I also resonate with the black sheep trigger in my family, and that's not fun. So I sympathize with you for that.
Shout out all the black sheep.
All the black sheep. Shout you out. All right. My husband's family is warm and welcoming, and I feel so much more safe and comfortable with them, which is an environment I want my kids in. And you can bring your kids. You just have to come join us live on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, every weekday at 3 p.m. PST. Just tap our profile. I'm not sure. It's confusing, and I feel so conflicted. It isn't Alice's fault, and I don't feel it's my place to warn her about him. Even the interactions I saw with them when he was home, he was still his normal, controlling self. At one point, taking away her phone? That's so inappropriate.
What
That's
are you? It's like
parenting your partner.
Or like
of 3 months.
being a high school teacher to your soon-to-be wife.
Put your phone in the phone cubby, honey.
Mm-hmm. You'll get it back after the end of second period.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel bad because no one else seems to say anything except my mom, but even then, she's still included in everything. We just celebrated my niece's 5th birthday yesterday, and she was included. It just made me uncomfortable because I feel that Brayden pressures my family to include her in everything, going as far as telling my mom she needs to invite Alice over to their house for dinner. In my opinion, we should have the option to be close with her, especially with him being in another country for 2 years if he sticks out his whole mission. I would have no problem if he was home and they'd been maintaining their year-long relationship at home. I just don't know. Am I the a-hole? What can I do here? I feel so lost and want to be close with my family, but it's hard when they seem to let Brayden walk all over them. I think there's a lot of things going on, and I think the main part of this story is your relationship with Brayden. You don't know if you want to have it or not. There's all this resentment you hold for good reason, and you're up in the air if you want to have a relationship with your brother. And then it seems like it's just like salt in the wound that you don't even want to necessarily have a relationship with your brother, and this person that he's barely been seeing is joining the family, and it seems like it's just still reminding you the fact that your family puts up with all the BS that your brother does.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that like talking to Alice or anything around Alice is actually the problem. I think that's just kind of the scapegoat for the real fact that you need to figure out the boundaries you want to set with your brother and the type of relationship, if any relationship, that OP wants to have with their brother.
Yeah. Maybe some family counseling.
Yeah, and it could be a conversation with the
mom
whole
and
family.
dad and you, and can go and sit down and figure out what exactly, and get all y'all on the same page.
It's like a personal, how do I want to relate to my own brother? And then like, how do I want to like relate to this with my family involved as well?
I ended our engagement because our relationship is no longer healthy.
Toxic.
It's a toxic relationship. Get out of there. I, 25 female, have been with my fiance, 27 male, for 4 years. We've been engaged for 1 of those years. Our wedding is set for June. We met in college. I graduated early while he graduated late, so we finished at the same time.
Nice.
I got a job and he decided to go to grad school. He was supposed to graduate a year ago, but didn't finish his thesis.
Ooh, I see you.
Then was supposed to graduate in the spring, but didn't. So now he's supposed to graduate in a few weeks. By the way, this comes from Salt Media 6534 on the OK Storytime subreddit. He found out about a month and a half ago that he was going to have to do another semester and only told me last week after I asked about how he was doing.
Oh, time out.
Pulling out the red flag.
Red flag. Too many delays here.
Too many delays. I mean, it's fine if you need to take time to, finish school, but
like 1 more semester.
If you're about to get married to someone, you're taking a lot of debt on, and you're not telling them how much time you're taking, suspicious. This has completely removed the veil from my eyes. I love him so much that I've been ignoring everything. I've sacrificed so much. I've taken on the majority of the load in our relationship, financial, chores, cooking, planning, etc. to ease his stress so he could graduate and we can begin our life together. I'm working a job I don't find fulfilling in just because it's the best option in the area of the university he's going to. He couldn't sacrifice substances and video games so that he can finish his goddamn thesis and we can move where I can get a better job and be happier. I don't even think he sees how much I'm doing for him. I feel like I'm his mother and he's my unemployed 27-year-old son that has no plans of getting a job or moving out. I'm so frustrated it's taken me this long to see. It's been there the whole time and I'm just now perceiving it. I want my life partner to be ambitious and motivated in the same way as me, but he's not. He has held me back for 4 years and I haven't realized it until now.
Ooh.
So tomorrow, I'm going to end our engagement.
Oh, wow.
OP's like, you know what? I'm done. I love him so much, but that is not enough. I've been processing this for the last week, and although I am terrified of losing him, the people I love that I've met through him and the non-refundable deposits I've made for the wedding, I'm feeling a bit of excitement to be independent. Once I grieve this relationship, my best friend, who I thought was the love of my life, I think I will feel 10 tons lighter. And there is an update.
Oh.
Man, oh man. It seems like OP's already decided.
Yeah, she's good to go.
Yeah.
She knows what's up. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be really tough.
It will be tough. You thought and you prepared for this person to be the love of your life.
Yeah.
And also got together at 21. They're 24 now. Their identity is wrapped around this.
You're totally different people now, and that's okay. And also, I think he's probably going to be like, oh, I'll change, and he'll try and make excuses. But no, he had time. He had time to change, and he didn't.
I think they're going to break up, but he's going to be like, no.
Yeah, I think he's going to be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'll finish it this semester. And
I
he's gonna
promise.
be like,
No more video games and Mary Jane.
It'll be easier to break this down by day. So my OG post was posted on Tuesday. Wednesday, I read him what I wrote about all my feelings and how his shortcomings have been affecting me. He agreed with everything I said, took responsibility for everything. He said I deserve better and that he wants to do better for me. He was being super hard on himself and it was hard to watch. At the end, I mentioned postponing the wedding and he freaked out. I didn't have it in me to say cancel. Oof. He was really blindsided by that and said he needed time and space to process, so he left. Thursday. He came back and took responsibility for everything again. He thanked me for bringing it up because he needed to hear it. He said he's been stuck for a long time and he wants to do better for me. I told him I think we need to part ways in order for both of us to be able to grow in the ways we need, and he was not expecting that at all.
I think
Ouchie.
OP needs to come clean on this one.
Mm-hmm. You just got to say, sorry, it's over.
Yeah.
He started freaking out. He begged me. He said, please don't do this to me. You're my best friend. Please don't give up on me. You haven't even given me a chance. I have to tell you that that was the worst thing that's ever happened to me. It took everything in me to not give in.
Wait, that's the worst thing that's ever happened to OP?
Yeah, when he was like, give me a chance, please. And he's begging.
Oh, she's saying now this was like...
Yeah. But I told him I have a lot of resentment and that would be hard to let go of. And it will be very hard to let go of our current dynamic. And that's not fair to either of us. At some point, he said, you have every right. I can't believe I've effed this up. Then we agreed to have another conversation the next day when emotions weren't as high. Friday, I stayed home from work and he came over in the early afternoon. He sat down and began telling me the things he planned in order to get better. He already made an appointment with an ADHD specialist. He talked with his grad school advisor about his options. He said he was willing to do anything to keep me. I told him again, every reason why we can't stay together, and he accepted it. We hugged and kissed each other goodbye, and he left. That's so tough. I sat for a minute, and then I started freaking out. It became real. I have pictured my entire life with him for many years, and the fact that he won't be in it at all really rattled me. It's just strange to me that he didn't have a game plan for going to grad school. He was like, I'm going to do grad school. And then it was just like, let's keep it going.
He's comfortable.
Yeah.
He's comfortable. People get in that kind of way of life, and they're like, all right, that's what it's going to be.
In our conversation, he seemed so ready for growth, and I questioned if it was fair to not give him a chance. I texted him and asked him to come back later to talk more. He came back, and in the meantime, I wrote out a list of things I needed in order for us to be together. He started reading it, and he stopped me. He said he had thought about everything I said earlier and knew I was right. Oof. He acknowledged that he's been holding me back for a long time, and he doesn't want to do that anymore. I'm very grateful he recognized that and let me go. Dang. At least he's taken it seemingly well.
Yeah. That's a real way to love someone is if you know it's not going to work, you got to let them go.
We decided to spend one last night together. It was like nothing had happened.
Ooh.
We kissed and cuddled and watched our show. We talked about our relationship and our favorite memories together. We ordered dinner and played our favorite board game. Then we cried ourselves to sleep in each other's arms.
Ooh, that's
sad.
dangerous.
That's sad.
That's dangerous because it's like, well, we could just do it again tomorrow.
In the morning, we said goodbye and we both left. We agreed to no contact for the foreseeable future. By the way, we would love for you to keep contact with us for the foreseeable future on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. Just tap our profile at 3 p.m. PST.
That's it? They're going no contact?
They're going no contact. Well, but I think that is fair.
Oh, yeah. He needs to figure
maybe,
stuff out.
Yeah, maybe along the line they can be friends. But I think when you've been in that long of a relationship and you're like in love with each other, you gotta have a little bit of no contact at first. OP's admitted. She's like, I love him. He loves me. We're just not right for each other right now. Like, it's just a matter of timing.
That's mature.
And circumstances, yeah.
Because he could come back. He could be on the biggest comeback of his life.
Yeah, he could be like, he could finish his, degree, and then he comes back and he's like, I'm a working man. I'm making money. I got a haircut.
Yeah, sometimes a fella just needs a haircut.
But there is another part to the story. This was the best possible ending I could have imagined. I'm so glad he ended up on the same page as me. We still have so much love for each other, but we know it's the best thing for us both. I'll be moving within the next few weeks and hopefully getting a job I actually enjoy. I'm rooting for him and really hope he can figure himself out. What's meant to happen will happen, and I believe that wholeheartedly. I read through y'all's comments before each talk for strength and encouragement. Thank you so much to everyone for the support and some relevant comments. When told it was heartbreaking and why didn't she bring up her concerns, Opie says, I regret this. I did bring up my concerns about these things multiple times, but I was too nice about it. I took a supportive and encouraging approach, and that's not what he needed. He needed me to be harsher, but that is a problem in and of itself because I brought these things to his attention, and he didn't do anything about it on his own accord. Just doing it for me wasn't enough, obviously. Now his growth will be for himself, and that is how it needs to be. Also, I never realized how deeply I was feeling these things. I think it's because I love him so much and interacting with him makes me feel so happy, made me so happy that I downplayed all of my other feelings. But I reached a breaking point last week and here we are. Rain Dog 2 says, for those who found this ending to be sad, though right and healthy, I had a girlfriend do this with me in college. She really was healthier without me. I used that to fix what was broken in me, but with the understanding that it was for my sake, not hers.
Yes, facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
4 years later, I found her and contacted her with the offer of a friendly catch-up and/or apology. The apology came with an understanding that would be completely open and transparent with no questions being off-limit. After months of that kind of openness, she eventually became reassured that I was safe to have her in her life. So this person is like, you guys could come back from this.
You got a shot, OP. OP's dude. Still got a shot.
That led to a period of dating where I had to win back the trust of her family and friends. Ooh, that's hard. 20 years and 2 children later, we're happy and married. I love this side story.
Wow.
Letting her go so I could get better was key to my growth and became key to getting her back.
Aww.
If OP's fiance wants to change, let him do that without her, and then he can try and earn her back. And that is the end of that story. But I think that's honestly lovely.
Sometimes when you got a bird, you just gotta let her go. And
Let
then
her go.
when it comes back, it's yours to keep.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because if it really loves you, eventually you guys will wind up together.
Aww.
If it's meant to be.
Meant to be.
But right now you guys aren't working and you need to go on your own and find yourself.
Yep. Go to Bali.
Go to Bali and find yourself.
That worked for me.
Yeah.
I figured everything out in Bali.
I'm so glad.
Yeah. I finally learned the truth about my engagement ring, and I can't stop crying about it.
Wah, wah.
For context, me, female 33, and my husband, 37, have been together for about 10 years. I met him a year after he got back from deployment in Iraq and immediately fell in love with him.
Yeah. What do you call that? Love at first getting back from deployment?
Yep, that's exactly what they call it. By the way, this comes from Miss G Pinecone Hunter on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So I continued the relationship knowing he comes with a lot of baggage. He has mild PTSD from his service, as well as having the emotionally manipulative family from the HE double hockey sticks. When I met him, he was roughly a year out of his divorce with his first wife. Long story short, she had been cheating on him the entire duration of deployment, and she had confessed it and divorced him pretty much the moment he got back in the country.
Oh, well, at least she did it immediately. That's a silver lining, right? Like, you didn't have to pretend to play house for like a couple months before she broke. She just told you straight up.
Because of his history with his ex, I always felt the need to walk on eggshells and never ask too much. His family immediately started treating me like garbage, making passive-aggressive comments about my appearance, my job. I'm a teacher. Again, insinuating I'm taking advantage of their son and brother. My husband insisted that they were only treating me this way because they were nervous that I would be the same as his ex, and I let it slide, believing him when he said if I stuck it out and it was kind of to them, they would change their mind. However, my ignoring their rudeness only seemed to encourage them to be more bold. They've done terrible things to me since then, such as telling anyone who would listen I cheated on my husband before the wedding, which by their own admission they had no proof. They just thought I seemed like the type. Every time I would approach my husband and discuss the mistreatment of me by his family, he would just remind me that his ex had cheated on him, so they were probably being overly protective just to ignore them. And that's why I would have let aside when he would spend all of his very few days off at his mother's house doing chores for her, or when we had to leave events early because she was calling him to come take care of things for her, or we wouldn't be able to go on vacations because he had to help his mother, and even financing his siblings with things that were not super necessary, such as paying to store his brother's classic car for the winter, or paying his sister to stay in a hotel room for a conference she was going to. I continued my best to try and prove I was not materialistic and using my husband. Eventually, while we were dating, we discussed many times the ring I would like. I said I never wanted anything too flashy or expensive, but I had been very specific with what I did not want it to be. A little over a year into our relationship, he proposed. When I saw the ring, I was more than a little surprised at the fact that it was pretty much everything I said I did not want it to be stylistically.
Red flag. How? You didn't even tell him what you want. You said, this is what I don't want. And he gave you that. Exactly that. Wait, is that actually, was he listening, but he just got confused? He's actually a really good listener. He just missed the part where you said, not what I want.
Yeah, babe, I thought you said this is what you want. Don't think of elephants. What are you going to think of?
Zebras.
Actually, I thought of a snake.
Okay, well, you're going to think of elephants.
Yeah,
Inception.
like a python. I thought of a snake.
Snake.
Nah, but yeah, if you tell someone like, don't do this, it sounds like they're going to do it because they're dumb. I just told myself that if this was all he could afford and he bought it out of love, so I would live with it and never say anything.
And never say anything. That's not the right thing to do. Communication is key. Just leave it at that.
Communication is key on.
Communication is key
Wow,
on.
that's perfect, actually. Fast.
I approve this message.
Forward 5 stinking years later. After the birth of our first son, his attitude towards his family did a 180. For the first time, he saw his family for what they really were. They were uncaring towards my son and just kept demanding that my husband keep servicing them the way he always had. They were unsymptomatic to the fact that we had a newborn and kept the threats they usually have been using for years, primarily that they would cut off all ties with him if he kept changing.
For all of our listeners, I'm voraciously waving a red flag because how are you going to tell someone they are not allowed to change? That is what life is. Life is a journey of change.
Tell him. He finally realized that they didn't care about him. They only cared about what he could do for them. We still invite them to holiday and birthday parties, but for the most part, we do not interact much. When things were a little too calm, his mother still calls to stir up crap. She knows how to play his guilt and PTSD to make him suffer for choosing me over her. However, since the birth of our son, he is the perfect husband to me in every way. He takes my opinion seriously, spoils me, and always values my feelings first.
Okay.
Now, present day and the issue at hand. We had been together for 10 years and married for 7, and we have 2 beautiful boys and a little girl due in 3 months.
Okay.
Our relationship and our family is perfect in every way. However, a month ago, when I went in to have my ring serviced, when the worker casually mentioned that it was a 1/4 carat ring, I asked her to repeat herself. Since my husband told me it was a 1.5 to 2 carats, she insisted that it was 0.4 was the correct size.
0.4 is pretty low.
Pretty low.
From what I am aware of.
Hey,
I'm not
comparisons
there
with Deep
buying
Joy.
wedding rings all day long, but doesn't seem like a lot, which is fine. Not everyone can afford like a big expensive wedding ring, but at the same time, if you're storing your brother's sports car in the winter and you're buying hotel rooms and you're doing all this for your family, it's like, what?
Since that revelation, so much has made sense. For example, why everyone had seemed to make a face when I showed them my engagement ring. Why, when we were looking for wedding bands, every single store offered me to look at upgrades. Why I couldn't help but notice whether anyone else knew I got engaged. Their ring appeared to be double the size of mine. Not that I cared too much about it being big, but it stirred up every bad memory for how he used to treat me. How my feelings always had seemed to take a back burner to the opinions of his family. How now it made sense that even though he had a very good job at the time of our engagement, he got a very cheap ring because he was too busy financing his siblings' lifestyles. For the first 5 years of our life together, I wasn't good enough to have my feelings considered or honored. Finally, I got to the point where I couldn't even look at my ring finger without it all bringing up those terrible memories and me bursting into tears. Let's blame pregnancy hormones. So for the first time in 10 years, I decided to take off my engagement ring and put it away until I could get a hold of myself.
I'm thinking that this is not really about the ring.
Oh no.
It's about everything surrounding it.
Yeah.
So the ring's not really important here. What's important is I think you and your husband need to go to some counseling.
Mm-hmm.
You'll need to have a very crystal clear communication channel where you can express how you were feeling during this time period that's being drudged up when you look at your ring now.
Yep.
Because that's the real problem. It's not the ring.
No.
It's what happened, what surrounds the ring.
Yeah. This is not about the ring whatsoever. It's about, yeah, exactly. What my boy just said. Of course, my husband immediately noticed the next day and asked why I wasn't wearing it. I confessed what I had discovered and what I was feeling. As expected, he was the perfect husband about it. We had a long discussion about how he lives with the guilt every single day for how he was manipulated to treat me for the first 5 years and how he took full responsibility.
My girlfriend rejected my wedding proposal because it's not her dream setup.
I'm sorry, I had a dream and it looks nothing like this garbage you set up.
I had a dream and it's not you. For context, my girlfriend, female 21, and I, male 21, have been together for 6 years, and over Thanksgiving weekend, I took her on a week-long trip to Hawaii with the intention of proposing to her. Yeah, what a terrible place for a proposal.
Yeah.
So crappy, so unthoughtful.
How dare you?
I even asked her parents for their blessings and showed them the ring a couple of days before we left for the trip. By the way, this comes from Axel Barilla from the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So we have talked about marriage before, and we've both agreed that we want to marry each other. So the idea of it is nothing new and actually a frequent topic. The issue is that she wanted a grand wedding proposal similar to the ones that you might see on TikTok/Instagram. Big marry me in letters on the beach, rose petals on the ground, lights, mariachi band, etc., etc. I was absolutely on board on doing that for her if it made her happy, but that was something to be planned at a beach back home since I wouldn't have the resources to plan it for a trip to somewhere we've never been, especially because we booked everything as a last-minute vacation just 5 days prior. Ironically, after she sent me videos of people vacationing in Hawaii. I believed this would be a great opportunity though. So I planned to propose to her on the day we arrived. I carried the ring in my pocket all day waiting for a good opportunity to ask her, knowing it wasn't going to be a grand proposal like she had hoped for, but I thought that because of the circumstance she would be happy. However, we had some completely unnecessary arguments and I decided to postpone because I didn't want to do it after a bitter day. The second day there, we had booked a reservation to go parasailing. I didn't want to risk losing the ring, so I left it back at the hotel. We didn't get back to the hotel until around 5 p.m. and we started getting ready to go back out into the city By this time, it was already starting to get dark. She said before that she would want a sunset proposal, and knowing that I couldn't organize any of the other things she had in mind for a proposal, the sunset was the only thing I had. I missed my chance on that, but we still went out to dinner and drinks. We came back to the hotel afterwards, and she was tired. I was too. It was an eventful day. I let her rest for a bit, and around 10:30, I convinced her to go on a night walk with me at the beach, is when I planned to propose to her. We got to the beach, and the city was very much still awake with the lights of the buildings and the streets combined with the moonlight illuminated the ocean beautifully. We stood there hugging and kissing, both knowing it was a beautiful and intimate moment. I started telling her how much I love her and how I want to be with her my entire life, etc., etc. So, as I started to get on one knee and I reached into my pocket for the ring, she stopped me.
Halt.
Hold your horses, buddy. I hope you're not about to propose to me right now. This isn't what I expected. My heart dropped. I got back up and stood speechless before starting to walk back to the hotel. I was in no mood to talk about the situation and told her that we should talk about it tomorrow. Now, we talked about it the next day, and she insists on me doing it again, but this time the quote-unquote right way during sunset. I tell her I can't do that because she rejected me already. She tells me she didn't reject it, just simply that it wasn't how she wanted it to happen. We spent the next 4 days in Hawaii in a very tense state, but we had to deal with it until we got back home. We lived together, and for the first night, she went to sleep with her parents. Now she came back, but I don't want to be home and there with her. What can be the outcome of this situation? I obviously didn't want this to happen during our vacation, but I didn't see it any other way. Is there a valid reason for me not wanting to be with her anymore? I also don't think it's right for me to redo the proposal. We have an update, but we have to talk. Dakota, please.
So, I feel like having like a dream wedding, a dream something, having a vision for like an event that you can plan, that's one thing. And then having your like dream proposal scenario in your own head and then expecting your partner to just like do it. And if it's not lining up, you're like, no, wait, stop. I hope you're not trying to propose to me because it needs to be at sunset or I will be unhappy. It's like, you should be happy that you're being proposed to. If you're not, you want the aesthetic of your proposal to be a certain way. It's like you're a person who's obsessed with the wrong stuff. And if OP doesn't marry this person, he's probably better off.
Can I ask you a question? Does everybody suck here?
No.
I think so.
I don't think you can suck by taking your like fiance / girlfriend, future wife to like Hawaii.
I think that OP did know what kind of proposal she would like. And he was like, hey, I know that she wants this thing and we couldn't do it at a beach at home. And as soon as he said that, I thought, why didn't you just do it at a beach at home if you kind of knew you couldn't like feasibly pull off exactly what she liked? Like, wouldn't she prefer the thing she prefers? Now, to your point, do I think that a Hawaii proposal, in it, whether it's moonlight, whether it's whatever the case is, in my mind is just automatically banger, like automatically great, given that she's said explicitly what she wants. And then I don't know, like a little bit of being a baby, like, I don't want to redo the proposal.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I will say that like him then taking that so personally to the point where it's like, well, I can't do it. I don't know.
I do think she sucks more, but I think Brody really didn't have to put himself in this scenario. Although maybe I'm kind of glad he did. So we had another conversation about it once she came back home from her parents' house. Another thing also just being like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm sleeping with my mom's. I'm going to go over here. She's still adamant that I failed to meet her expectations. Admittedly, I understand I didn't do any of the things that she had visualized it to be. I emphasized that we're young and the proposals she's seen on social media are nothing but trends. Again, if it's what she wants, who cares if it's a trend? These proposals have become popular in maybe the last year or two. Prior to that, she's told me that she wants an intimate proposal and especially away from the public. People are telling me I'm wrong because I knew exactly what she wanted and didn't do it. She also tells me that a proposal is solely about the female and what she wants.
I hate her now.
You scared me.
Sorry, I got really upset there. I hate her.
Hey, My man Keon, he deserves to be wooed a little too. What does Keon want? I want to know that.
I want him to dump her.
Ooh, the hat says all. Opie says, I think that's BS. I know I told her that I was on board on doing her fantasy proposal, yet I changed my mind about that. I didn't want to plan this huge thing at my hometown beach just for the spectacle of it. I preferred to do it in a way I knew we would both enjoy in Hawaii, especially. That I think is important context. Something that really bugs me is that she says that I made the trip seem like just another trip, nothing crazier out of the ordinary.
What is this, a Disney movie?
A trip to Hawaii is just like, well, we only just went to Hawaii.
Baby, like, why didn't you, like, rent out the whole island just for me? Like, I felt like so unspecial. I had to, like, share it for, like, with, like, tens of thousands of people. Like, am I even, like, special to you, babe? This is literally our first ever vacation flight together. The same night that happened, we had brunch, we went parasailing, and we had a wonderful teppanyaki dinner. Am I selfish for changing the whole proposal up without consulting her? I don't understand why some people say I'm selfish for not doing what she wanted. I still did something that objectively should make any woman ecstatic. I think my focus now is shifting from wondering if it's okay for me to break up with her for turning me down to wanting to break up for her ungratefulness in general. Another reason why she said it wasn't up to her expectations was because we were both dressed casually. She wanted me to give her prior notice that something special was going to happen by telling her to get all glammed up. By the way, you never got to get all glammed up. To join us live every weekday at 3 p.m. PST, we're live on YouTube, on TikTok, on Facebook. Tap a profile, get on in here, join the party. Let's close out this story here. So, note to the people asking why I couldn't propose the next day at sunset. Another requirement for her proposal was for her dog to be there.
Dude, shut up!
Which she told me that same minute after telling me it's not what she expected. She absolutely adores this dog and has always told me she wants him to be the ring bearer at our wedding.
Oh, gross. Don't
Do
bring
what
the
you
dog
want.
to the wedding. Sorry. What are you doing?
It's never gonna please her. She's gonna keep wanting more
Yeah.
and more to like, it's so perfect. This is so perfect. Nothing's gonna be perfect for her.
Sure thing, if it makes her happy, I really don't mind. Issue is, she always wanted that to be the case for the proposal, which I was absolutely unaware of, and obviously we didn't take the dog with us. She was just too focused on how she wanted the proposal rather than being excited about being with me. Yes, and never acknowledged that. 1,000%. Case closed. That's it. Mic drop.
Did we get anything from OP wanting anything for the proposal other than proposing to her?
I think it hinges on, whatever will make her feel like the proposal is great, if he also feels good about that. Didn't even try to be empathetic to him or be like, oh my God, this trip is amazing. You're amazing. I love you and I want to marry you. Is it okay if we do, a couple other fun things I want in there? That's at least 10 times better. But that's the end of that story.
My fiance wants to cancel our wedding because of a failed handstand attempt.
Sometimes a handstand's so bad, you got to clear your entire day.
You have to go into hiding. My fiance and I were invited to a barbecue at the new home of one of her bridesmaids / best friends. And there were a lot of games there too. After everyone ate, Naomi and her husband gathered everyone for an impromptu talent show and encouraged everyone to participate. By the way, this comes from Throw Amelia 2 on the OK Storytime subreddit. So a few people didn't play, but my fiance did, as a few of her friends did too. In my first post, I forgot to mention that she knew about the games beforehand, so she already had her act in mind before the party. When it was her turn, she tried to use a chair to do a handstand / headstand on the grass, placing her head on the base of the chair and holding the armrest with her hands. Seems really dangerous. The chair tipped backward as she fell on her back, and a few of us ran over, including myself, to make sure she was okay. She was crying after it happened before me and one of her bridesmaids helped assist her to the bathroom away from everyone, and when we were inside, she said she wanted to leave. Honestly, I feel like she could have come back from that and told her that I'd get her things so that she wouldn't have to see anyone anymore. And the bridesmaid / best friend stayed with her by the car as I did this. She was still crying on the drive back, and when we got home, she wanted to be left alone. I figured it was best not to push her into talking, so I tried my best to give her the space she wanted. She didn't talk about it until the next day when she told me that she wanted to uninvite everyone at the party that saw her fall. And that was our first conversation. I told her that while I understood it was embarrassing and couldn't understand what she was feeling, uninviting everyone seemed like a bit much and might be emotional thinking too. But after I said that, she said that she wanted to postpone the wedding. And I told her that she should take more time because she might feel differently in a few days. And she didn't find solace when I told her that no one would care in a couple of days too. She then said she didn't want to talk anymore and decided to sleep downstairs and eat separately from that night on. And it really hurt when she did that. However, she also decided to contact the wedding planner and tell her that we decided to cancel behind my back. This is a child. You don't want to marry this child. And that was what made me write my first post. When I tried to talk to her after finding out, she yelled at me and told me to leave her alone. And that was when I reached out to my parents, who suggested that I try to contact hers. And this is where we get the backstory, where it's like, when I was a child, I did a handstand on a chair and I fell and everyone laughed at me. And now, whenever it happens again, I'm scarred. I'm traumatized.
Whenever it happens again on a full moon, I get crazy and I call off my wedding.
But there is an update. After ignoring me and telling the planner we were canceling, I felt that was her way of saying we were done, despite not officially saying it to me. I mean, she canceled your wedding behind your back. That's kind of, yeah. You can read into that. I tried to reach out to her parents numerous times before my post. They missed every call and never returned my detailed email about what had happened in the week since the party. A few people commented that I wasn't being considerate of her feelings. I think OP was incredibly considerate, but I feel like I tried my best to support her. From helping her leave without seeing anyone / getting her things and not pushing her to talk until she was ready. I don't feel like I was pushy at all. A few people also said that she could have suffered brain injury from falling from the chair height and never visiting a doctor, stating how side effects don't always show immediately, but that she should still get checked out. Everyone's like, that response was so crazy that she probably was concussed.
She knocked her brain loose.
Yeah, she's there's something clinically wrong with her.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Honestly, I hate to be this guy, but this just sounds like somebody who their whole life has always been able to get what they want by just being like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And like, this is what happens, I guess, when you entertain that behavior for someone's entire existence.
Yeah. It was almost a week from the party when I wrote my first post. And in my edit, I said that I would try to call / email her parents again because my top priority was making sure she was okay and hoping that they could convince her to see a doctor, since she refused when I asked. I've since tried to call, email them numerous times, but I've since been blocked as my email has not been returned either. I've tried to talk to my fiance since too, but she said that she'd be leaving to stay with her sister after she gathered everything she wanted to.
Leave this woman.
Literally,
leave.
Don't
You should
marry
now
her.
disappear as well.
Don't marry her because she's crazy.
Can you imagine if she did this like 3 years into your marriage?
Yeah.
You guys have a kid.
And she's like, I gotta go. Like her kid sees her fall in this handstand and she's like, gotta get rid of this kid. Gotta put it up for adoption, I guess.
I took the kid to the farm.
Yeah.
And it's going to live there for the rest of its life.
I'll get back to that in a moment, but in my last post, I mentioned how her best friend / bridesmaids reached out to me to ask me how she was doing since the fall. And they also told me that she had ghosted their texts / calls and that they were concerned about her. I was surprised because some of them were her best friends. And if she'd vent to anyone, I figured it'd be them. They were also concerned that she didn't get checked and had left their messages unread. But as of writing this, she has also blocked them too. This is insane behavior. However, one of her best friends sent me a text that my fiance sent to her about the bridesmaid who helped her to the bathroom. And as far as I know, she's the only one who received a response so far. Long story short, my fiance vented to her about how she didn't want help when she and a few others, including myself, ran over after she fell. And she also vented about how Naomi and her husband were show-offs for hosting a barbecue in their new home, among other things.
This person has a lot of personal growth to do.
What? She's like, no one can have a barbecue.
It's
That's showing off. You didn't have to show up. And also, she's mad that people tried to help her. However, when the best friend told her that no one was thinking about her fall and that everyone who ran over was genuinely concerned about her and that she should get herself checked, that's when she blocked her and didn't respond. As of right now, my ex-fiancé is staying with her sister after she came over to help her with her things. And it was only when she was there that my fiancé finally decided to say that she was done. I told her that I received the message when she told the planner we had canceled behind my back, but some of her best friends told me that they were sorry for me and that they were surprised with her actions too after hearing about how she treated me at home. I personally thought it was connected to her pride of currently doing yoga and being a former gymnast, but some things I guess I'll never know. It still hurts a lot with the sudden shock, but some people recommended talking to a therapist, and it's something I'm trying to consider with my insurance. Wedding stuff is complicated, but I just want it to be over soon. Dad's suggesting a lawyer, and that's where we're looking at right now, although it still hurts like hell. But, you know, what never hurts? Joining us live every weekday at 3 p.m. PST on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. Just
That's
tap
right.
our profile.
Doesn't hurt at all.
It's easy,
Just takes a couple of taps and
Just
you're
some
there.
Taps. And the taps don't hurt. There is a little bit left to this tale, but what do you think?
I feel proud of myself for being like, she definitely had a gymnast background for this to be that big of a deal.
Gotta be.
But you don't want to be married to someone who's willing to
baby.
cut off all of their friends and cancel their wedding and break off their engagement with you.
Over being slightly embarrassed.
Yeah, and it's like, who knows what she's thinking? There's got to be more to it than that, but like, whatever it is, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Because
No, I mean, human beings are embarrassed. I mean, I get embarrassed by things probably like at least 3 to 4 times a week, you know, maybe 1-2 times a day. There's probably something I've done that's embarrassing or something, and you just got to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. Is it's like, I feel like she was embarrassed about this, and then literally did everything, like checked every box to make every single person who was involved remember it for the rest of their lives. Now.
Yeah, I mean, if I was at a party and someone fell and they just kind of like got up, or like even if they like shed a few tears, I'd be like, oh my god, I hope they're okay. If I was at a party, someone fell, ran out crying, then they never came back, and then I hear from everyone that she canceled her wedding and blocked all her friends, I would never forget.
That's a core memory
infamy.
For every single person there.
Yeah.
So have fun with that, OP's ex-fiancé.
Yeah.
We're going to remember it too.
Forever. But there is an edit. Our wedding was scheduled for the summer, and we had been together for a few years since around post-college after knowing each other in college. This was the first that I had ever seen her embarrassed in front of other people in such a way. But when others asked if she had shown similar reactions to things not going her way in the past, this was the first embarrassment like this. I don't know if she's faced similar things at her job, but she does not work at a customer-facing company and never told me if she ever did. In some of his comments, Opie seemed to come to terms with how he may never find all of the answers to what happened. Opie says, I really don't know what else I could have done, and that I would have been wrong to just watch and do nothing and assume she was fine, as her texts apparently wanted. The fact that she fell and didn't want help and got mad over people coming to help her made me think it was pride, although someone else suggested that maybe it triggered an old memory of a gymnastics fall or something. Some people recommended therapy, and I'm trying to see what/if my insurance covers, but I'm still trying to get past everything and trying to understand that I'll probably never know all of the answers, which sucks for closure, but still. Like, people are going to be like, oh, like if you ever get into another relationship, they're going to be like, what happened to your last relationship? And you're like, yeah, I almost got married, but then she fell at a party and blocked everyone. So, you know.
A silver lining, yeah, you didn't marry a dumb nerd who can't do a handstand even after she hyped herself up.
And that's the end of that story. My parents keep criticizing my fiance, and I feel guilty that I can't defend him.
It's time to challenge your parents to a duel.
At dawn! Hello, everybody. I usually lurk in communities as I'm a huge introvert off and online, but I started to question myself about how good of a partner I am for my fiance. Hence why I ask for your judgment, and you will receive it. No real names are used, and please excuse my English, as it's not my native tongue. My fiance, Josh, 30 male, and I, 30 female, met around 7 years ago in Europe, where I immigrated and worked in my family's small business. While it was not love at first sight, we slowly fell for each other, and after a year, we became official and exclusive. By the way, this comes from Mamanznozo on the OK Storytime subreddit. So I introduced Josh to my parents, which is not the norm in my culture. Usually people of my native country introduce their partners when they decide to marry and ask their parents' permission. However, my ex had once kidnapped me, and none of my family knew where I was or who I was with. That's crazy.
Yeah, well, maybe good thing that guy's your ex. That's got to be a pretty universal red flag, right?
I decided to introduce each other and ask them to exchange contacts in case something happens to me. After the introduction, I openly told my parents where and when I was meeting Josh for safety reasons. My parents were happy about our relationship for about 6 months, then everything spiraled downwards. I don't quite remember what started the argument, but it had led to my mom finding out that I had spent time over at Josh's place. She called me an whore for it, and my mind went blank. After being excused, I went to my room crying and messaging Josh about how my mom and I had an argument and how it really hurt me. Josh got angry and wrote a respectful message to my mom about how he hopes that my mom and I can settle our differences, but calling me names was out of line. Good partner. My mom flipped out, screaming that he had no right to talk to her like that and to tell the elders what to do. Immediately, my parents started giving me more work and business trips and asking me to take care of my brother while they were on business trips. I was very overworked and stressed, and I was only excused from all of it when my brother needed help. Furthermore, my parents would give me so many stupid reasons on why Josh and I should break up, such as financial differences or that I would date/marry someone of my nationality. In the height of stress, I once did try to break it off with Josh, but he wanted to stay in the relationship, even though he knew that he was not welcomed in my family. It was then when I noticed how much I loved Josh and how grateful I am for him. I told him that I want to try again, but that I cannot keep up with all the stress and pressure that my parents were giving me. For the next 2 years, Josh taught me a valuable lesson in boundaries and taking care of my mental/physical health. Whenever I tried to put them into practice, my mom would claim how her lovely daughter has changed due to Josh's bad influence. Tension kept rising till one day things erupted. I won't go into more details because the post is already pretty long and this is just backstory. Long story short, I moved out of my parents' house after they said they'll put my 2 rescue cats in their transport box and throw them out in the middle of winter.
There's fighting words for me. Don't touch my kitty.
I tried to take my cats out of my house, but my parents caught me and started getting physical. Josh heard me screaming while he was waiting outside and called the police. I think, honestly, maybe you need to cut your parents off.
This sounds like a kind of leave and say, I'll never see you again.
Yeah, this
Goodbye
is like a
forever.
no contact situation. And you also have a really great support system in Josh, who seems to, time after time, being supportive. And also the fact that he's like, you try to break up with him, and he's like, no, that's not what you want. Your parents are trying. The next few months were hazy for me. I moved into Josh's small apartment and immediately started looking for jobs so I can finally be independent and away from my parents. Also, after much convincing from Josh, I went to a psychiatrist and therapist and was diagnosed with severe depression and anxiety with PTSD. I mean, like, OP's gone through so much. This year, I am living together with Josh and our 2 cats and a dog. I'm still getting treatments, but years of masking my depression and anxiety caught up to the point where I was deemed no longer fit to work. Josh was happy to be the breadwinner of the household, and I had enough savings to help out with half of the bills and all costs regarding our pets. My parents begrudgingly accepted Josh as my partner and acted civil around him. They still are upset with Josh calling the police for a family dispute where you were attacking OP?
It's all in the family, Josh. You don't understand.
Well, that's what it seems like. It seems like they want complete control over OP, and anyone who tries to push back against that is opposing them.
Which is toxic AF.
And told me that they will never forgive him for it, but are willing to be nice, as long as Josh and I are in a relationship. They were also insistent on me moving back to my native country for a tryout. Throughout the years, I was unwilling to move back due to all the support network system that Josh and I made, with the big help from his family also. I also knew that my country's culture and view on mental health did not fit me. But after years of talking and arguing about it, I decided I will try living in my country for 1 year with the condition that I live with my partner. Josh, being the best partner ever, dropped everything to go to my country for a year. He understood that my parents will never drop the subject until I try it for a year. Furthermore, it was a good opportunity for him to have a 1 year break and focus on healing his recent development of disc prolapse. We also made several conditions on when we should move back to Europe ASAP. It has been about half a year since we moved to the country, and not surprisingly, my mental health deteriorated to the point where I am struggling with work once more.
Your parents suck. Boo!
The answer is very much not move back to where your parents have more of a, more control over you. I think you need more distance from them. Josh is doing everything to support me and help me, He would wake up early every day to make breakfast, wake me up, help me go to work as I started to struggle with daily tasks. While I work, Josh would clean, take care of our pets, work on his physical rehab, and do some side work. There are also days when I'm alone due to Josh traveling. During his travel, I would ask my parents to come and help me. This works perfectly because Josh gets to travel around Asia, as he always wanted, and also meet his friends and family whenever they visit. As much as I need support, we both know that he also needs time to enjoy himself. A few months ago, I was unable to work for 2 weeks due to my depression worsening. My parents found out about my condition as I'm getting treatment from a psychiatrist who is also a very close family friend. That seems illegal. They shouldn't be sharing that information with your parents. In our country, it is not illegal to share parents' information with a guardian, in this case, my parents. How old are you? They're not your guardian anymore. I had to make an emergency call to my psychiatrist due to my worsening condition, which led to my psychiatrist notifying my parents. Every time my mom and I called, she would say how Josh is no help and that he should have forced me to work or dragged me out of bed.
Real nice portrait of why OP shouldn't be living with you guys.
Yep.
Like,
You
that's
need to-
not how that works.
You need to get so far away from these people. I got upset and told her everything that Josh has done for me and that she should be happy because if it wasn't for Josh, I wouldn't even try living in the country. After several times of mom berating Josh again, I finally snapped and told her that what Josh is doing may not be enough through the lens of a mother, but he is absolutely doing the best he can. He always asked what he should do to help me get up, how he can help, and so on. I listed all the things Josh has done for me throughout and how much he helped me. I told my mom that I would not have been alive if it wasn't for Josh pushing me to get help. Even his family supported and stayed with me when Josh was not available. As I was discrediting her arguments on Josh's lack of support, she kept on making different reasons on why Josh was not a good partner. In the end, she said that I'm the protector of our relationship, whereas Josh should be the one to do all the protecting. I think my interpretation of that is like, you need to make the home nice and like make him want to stay with you, but he needs to protect you from all outside problems and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, be the man in the relationship.
I'm almost interpreting it as like she's trying to do like the gotcha where it's like, shouldn't Josh be the one defending you guys instead of you, because you're the one defending your relationship to me? And it's like, it's because you're the one asking me all the time and trying to tell me that Josh sucks.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know.
Both
You
ways,
don't
she
have a
sucks.
real argument there. I don't know.
I reminded her that Josh quit his job, left his friends and family in Europe to come with me, where he has absolutely no support except for me. That is my duty as a partner to protect him. Although my mom had the last word because the argument will never end unless she does, I thought my mom would finally realize that her complaints about Josh are not welcomed. After our argument, she kept saying how she'll be nice to Josh as long as I love him and am in a relationship with him. What?
I'm leaving immediately. Like, she's like, I'll just put up with this guy that you love and want to spend like maybe your life with. It's like,
yeah.
bye. I'm going back to Europe to his family who actually loves both of us.
Skip forward to last week. I could no longer be active. I stopped driving in fear of causing accidents and struggled to walk my dog every day. I couldn't go to places because everything became overwhelming and everything was too loud. Again, this led to me not going to work again. Josh got super worried, but I wanted him to spend quality time with his sister, who visited all the way from Europe, and told him not to worry about me and go travel. Yesterday, my mom found me lying down on the sofa, unable to welcome her. She looked around the apartment where everything was a mess and started shouting at me that Josh never cleans. She then went on with her argument about how Josh is abandoning me because he prioritizes his enjoyment over my well-being and so on. I don't remember everything she said, but I was just too tired to say anything and just listened to everything as she kept talking about how Josh is a horrible person and is not a good partner for me. This went on for 3 hours. You need to go limited or no contact with your parents.
Can you imagine talking at someone for 3 hours? Not one, not two, three hours of blah, 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 blah. And the other person is just stone-faced, not acknowledging you.
Insane. After that, she got a call, so I took mine and her dog for a walk. As I started walking, my foggy mind began to clear, and I noticed I did not stand up for Josh. I immediately texted Josh telling the situation that I was really sorry that I didn't defend his honor. I felt horrible because I knew that Josh would have defended me in whatever situation. Pausing really quick, it seems like almost the whole story you have been defending him.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it would have helped you to be like, well, that's not true when your mom is ranting for 3 hours. I don't think it would have changed your mind.
Impossible at this point.
I remembered how everyone who supports him is in Europe and that I'm the only one who he can rely on. I am so grateful that he dropped everything to help me, to support me, but I didn't do the same for him. Josh replied that he's completely fine that I didn't stand up for him because he understands my complicated relationship with my mom, but I can't stop feeling bad about it. The worst part is I don't know if I'll have the energy to keep standing up for my partner while my mom is here. I really want to, but I don't know if I can. I feel really conflicted about this and immense guilt, feeling like a horrible partner for Josh. So would I be a bad partner if I don't have the mental energy to stand up for my partner? And there is an update, but any final thoughts before we get into that?
Clearly the answer there is no.
You're
It
not
doesn't
able.
make you a bad person. It's like, even if you had the best defense lawyer on the planet,
Yeah.
I'm sure they wouldn't be able to convince your mom that Josh is anything but a bad dude.
Because, I mean, like, I think sometimes when you have parents or just people like this who are so set in their way, facts aren't going to change their mind. They're going to stick where they are.
And it doesn't sound like you're in a position either where you can just be like, please stop. Because then she'd just go, look at now Josh is making you argue with me. And it's like,
you don't respect your mom and this is Josh's influence.
you're a mom that doesn't deserve respect. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I think that you need to put some distance between you and your parents because it's not healthy for you and it seems to be negatively impacting you a lot. But there's an update. I noticed many of you saying that I should go back to Europe ASAP. Josh and I have already discussed leaving the country earlier than the 1 year mark that I have promised to try out. We're still figuring out when, since there are issues with the apartment contract and all the furniture that we have to get rid of before we terminate the contract. I'm also going to try telling my parents about our decision, which is going to require a lot of courage for me. Sorry, I didn't make this clear from the start. I thought this information was not required for the post. Update 2. Just wanted to make things clear. I had a great mental health support in Europe. Josh and his family helped me find a good fitting psychiatrist and therapist that I eventually settled on after meeting a few. The reason why I'm getting treatment by a family friend is because my mom has complete trust in her and she's the psychiatrist that finally got my mom to understand the severity of my mental health. Well, she apparently doesn't understand how to not make it worse.
Your mom doesn't understand shit about mental health.
Like, she may understand that it exists, but that's the extent of it.
She understands that she doesn't really care about it because she's like, your husband should have been dragging you out of bed and telling you to get back to work.
She doesn't care, like doesn't want to understand. Also, I do need a psychiatrist to get a prescription and a professional to make sure that I'm safely in taking meds. By the way, we want to make sure that you're safely joining us live every weekday at 3 p.m. PST on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok.
Yes, please don't do it while you drive a
Don't do
motor
it
vehicle
dangerously.
or any other such activities.
Do it
Just
when you have got your hands free.
sit down in a nice, comfortable spot, maybe in your house or at
Pull
the
over.
park. Sit underneath a nice shady tree on a hot summer day
And then tap our profile.
and tap that profile.
There is a little bit left to the story. Do you have any other final thoughts?
I think we've hit them all pretty
I think we
squarely.
have. My original psychiatrist and therapist are always happy to talk to me via phone and email to give me further advice, but there's only so much they can do when they're almost 10,000 kilometers away. Mental health facilities are not as developed in my country that you just need a 6-month course to be certified to become a therapist. I am currently just seeing a psychiatrist who has a doctorate degree. But after I learned that she was telling my mom about my private info, I don't talk to her about myself as much, except for any conditions related to meds. And that is the end of that story, but man, oh man, go back to Europe with your partner.
I hope it's the beginning of the story of OP going back to Europe.
I sure hope so. That is the end of that story.
My fiance's family excluded me from Christmas because I established my boundaries.
The Christmas tree must come down after Christmas.
Hello, everyone. My fiance, 23 male, and I, 22 female, have been together for 5 years and engaged for 1. Congratulations. Recently, I found out from my fiance that his parents have stated that they do not want me to come over to their house for Christmas this year. By the way, this comes from Throw RA Car Woes on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, some context. When we first started dating, we were young and dumb teenagers that made plenty of mistakes, oversharing with family about our relationship being the main one. But I have always been invited to their family's holidays, which I've really appreciated as my family is splintered whenever that time of year comes around. I always always got the vibe my fiance's mom didn't like me, but I was reassured by my partner that she did, and I might be reading into things too much. But in the past 2 years, I've discovered that my gut feeling was right.
Oh.
Always trust your gut.
Yeah.
When my fiance and I got engaged a year ago, we invited over his mom and grandma to our new house we recently bought. They were against the purchase of this house because they felt it was a poor investment and he didn't involve them enough in the process. Regardless, we were excited for them to see the place, especially after I cleaned it and tidied it all up to host them. My fiance sat them down a bit after they arrived and told them that we were engaged as he proposed privately a day earlier and he wanted to have the chance to tell them in person and let them be the first ones to know. I thought it was sweet that he wanted to tell the two most important women in his life in this way and thought it would be a really nice moment. But I was very wrong. No. So sad. The first thing his mom said was that she felt like she was being replaced and was upset. Then an argument between my fiance and his mom ensued while his grandma and I were kind of left awkwardly looking at each other. His mom then turned to me at some point and started being a bit disrespectful towards me. At that point, my fiance stood up and she said she thinks it would be best if they left so everyone could cool down because he didn't see a way the situation could be diffused. His mom and grandma then left, and then unbeknownst to us, she proceeded to call and text everyone else in his family to let them know her version of what happened and that her son kicked her out of his house. My fiance didn't get to have the chance to tell anyone else in his family because they all found out about our engagement through her being upset. He didn't get his special moment. She made it all about herself. This really broke my heart for him because my parents were so happy and surprised to hear the news. My dad teared up. I wanted him to have the same exciting experience. After that day, we both decided to set what we think is a responsible boundary. No one is welcome in our home and space if you're going to be disrespectful towards either of us, just like they wouldn't want anyone over at their house if they were rude or disrespectful. We also have both grown up in households where whenever there was an issue that happened, no one would talk about it or address it, and then time would pass and everyone would act like the issue never happened. We both were tired of that pattern of dealing with the issues and wanted to create a better environment for us and our future family, breaking generational cycles.
Yeah.
There you go.
Curses, some would say.
Yeah. Which means open conversation and taking accountability. After some time had passed, his mom brought up the idea of visiting again, and my fiance informed her that she would have to apologize for being disrespectful before she could come back over.
Okay, I would be getting a green flag boner at this point if I was the fiance. Not
That's
a lot of
great.
guys can stand up to their moms.
Yeah, and they sound like they're young too. Like this is only like a few years after being teenagers.
Yes,
too. So that's
yes.
impressive. She said she already apologized to him in person, but he told her that she still needs to apologize to me. After that conversation, she never brought up coming over to the house again. In fact, no one in his family mentioned wanting to come over either. A year has passed since then without much conversation about it. During that time, I was still invited over for Easter, Halloween, some dinners, and was still friendly and cordial. I figured him dealing with this family is his responsibility. I'm not going to make anything awkward or uncomfortable, so I just did my best to stay out of it.
All right.
Fast forward to now, they say the main reason they don't want me over is because if his mom is not allowed over at our home, I'm not allowed at theirs. We were surprised as the conversation about the issue ceased, and we just figured that they didn't care to visit much anymore. We live in the same city, only 25 minutes away. I know with my fiance being an only child as well as the only boy in the family, that him being present for holidays is a really big deal to them and him. I can tell this bothered him, and I've decided I'm not going to make it any harder on him by making him pick. Currently, he's planning on going over there just for around 3 hours for food and gift exchange, and then come home to spend the rest of the holiday with me. My family isn't doing anything for Christmas this year, so it really will just be me at home alone for most of the day. This does make me sad, but I'm trying to do my best to work through my feelings on it and respect the situation. It bothers me that this was a boundary him and I both agreed on and set, but it feels like I'm just being punished by his family for it. Yeah.
Real quick comments. Should the fiance have gone? If I was the fiance, I probably would be like, hey, we're a package deal. She can't go. I'm not coming. Just apologize to me, mom.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been a year. They said that like it's been a whole year since this incident, and it's still like she's just still won't apologize just to go over. It's like, come on, this is your future family. I know it's like, I guess you weren't happy about it, but you gotta just
She's gonna be a part
adapt.
of the family pretty soon, so you gotta figure this out, girl.
Whether you like it or not. Girl.
We're going to get back to the story, but Sam, you have a copious amount of something.
What, John?
Exes.
I have like 4 or 5 or 6.
I heard of 6 with a 0
All
behind
right,
it.
that 60 number, comes from somewhere else.
Where does that come from?
It comes from our OK Storytime membership.
Yeah, that's freaking right. We have 60 plus hours of exclusive live streams on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
And it's only $5 a month, so go to the link in our description, youtube.com/OKOP show/join.
Join a club almost as exclusive as Sam's exes. Well, let's get back to the story.
I just wish his parents could see how that they are actually making things harder for their son by doing this. I feel like it will only make things more awkward for all of us in the future. But it is their home and they have the right to make any rules they want for their space, just like we have. And after all this, I'm not really sure I want to go somewhere I'm not welcomed. But I'm still dealing with just the feelings of hurt, sadness, and no longer looking forward to the holiday at all. Any advice or thoughts on how to cope with Christmas this year would be appreciated, and thank you for reading. And there is an update, but what advice would we have at this moment in time?
Fiance needs to step up. Opie did everything
Yeah.
right. Didn't pressure her partner into picking her or his family.
Yeah, that is nice. I think even like if we would have the expectation for this fiance, just as outsiders, like to do that, it is nice that she didn't really like force that, because then that would put her in an even worse position, I think, in probably the mother's eyes or possibly others. But I mean, I don't know. I think definitely you could still have a conversation and be like, hey, like, is there anything you could say to your mom to like convince her to apologize? Or like, can I talk to her so we could just actually have a conversation about this? You know?
If you're like a fiance, you just let family be family and let them deal with it, is what I've learned. You can apologize. You can reach out and try to apologize, but don't force it. If you force it,
Yeah.
who the heck knows what would happen?
There is an update. I think we're on the same page about what OP should do, but let's see if she actually did what we thought. Update. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for all the comments and advice. I never thought this post would get as many as it has. Well, to get to the point, long story short, the engagement and relationship has ended.
What?
Oh, no.
Did his strong backbone turn into wet toast?
No. Oh my gosh. Completely unrelated to this issue, my former fiance ended the relationship randomly last night after we went out dancing with a bunch of friends. Oh my gosh. He cited the reason being that he was no longer happy or in love with me and hasn't been for a while and has only been going through the motions.
Damn.
Oh, that's sad.
Damn.
That's
OP,
sad.
I feel
man.
you.
Dang. This definitely came as a shock considering we were dancing, kissing, and all over each other just hours before, but it is what it is. I'm still dealing with grief and heartbreak over losing 5 years together, but also trying to stay positive and see this as possibly a blessing in disguise. Because Lord knows I wasn't going to leave the relationship, and I've stayed with him and put up with more than I really should have. Again, thank you all for the kind words. He's seen this post in comment section and is not happy about what is being said about him, but I honestly don't care because a lot of you hit the nail on the head. I've honestly considered sending this post to his mom before blocking her and the rest of his family along with him once I move out, but I'm not sure if I want to go completely scorched earth. But if you like scorched earth stories, you can check us out on any podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, or your favorite podcast app. Just search OK Storytime and see more stories like this. But there is a tiny bit left.
Dude.
Do we have final thoughts?
OP, I've been in his shoes before. Some would say exactly like this.
This is your story.
If female version, I think so. Yes, you have dodged a bullet, and one day another like beautiful thing will come into your life, and it'll be amazing, and you will appreciate it.
Aww.
It's gonna be hard. Just work on yourself for another year, and everything will be great. Just work on yourself.
You'll get there. You'll get that happy ending.
One time, I met a guy that did not work on himself after a breakup.
Oh, really?
It was not good,
dude.
Yeah, he was like, I still miss her, and he was just drinking all the time and like
Dang.
getting over it like that. And I'm like,
that montage from Arcane of Vi of becoming goth, that's going through my head right now.
Wow. After being in a lesbian relationship for 1 month, that's what happened to her.
It was complicated, man. It was complicated.
There's these like Instagram reels that are like her after her parents died, her after the war, her after 7 years of being in prison, and then her after being in
a breakup.
After being after being in a relationship for 1 month.
1 month.
She like went
so much more
goth.
complicated than that.
Okay, sure.
but yeah, that's what I think of. There is more to this story. Hopefully she does pick herself up after this relationship.
Got to.
Even though the relationship ending was unrelated to this event, as we had previous issues going on in addition to this, I just hope he or his family can realize and work to fix the unhealthy dynamic they have so no other woman has to go through what I did. Thank you again for all the kind words and helpful advice, everyone. They give me strength and courage to keep moving on.
And you should keep moving on, viewer, because we have another story coming at you.
We do.
I defended my fiance against my future mother-in-law because she is manipulative.
Look at her pulling all of these strings. I see you, mother-in-law.
Ooh. Hi, my name is Kate, and I'm 30 years old. My fiance, 30, has a mother who is becoming more and more unbearable. By the way, this comes from Kate Rosewood on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So I wanted to ask Reddit users if I'm so terrible for defending myself and my partner. The situation is like this. And I apologize for any mistakes. English is not my native language. Before Christmas, about a month ago, we called his mother to see if she wanted to come with her husband for Christmas. His mother is 60 years old this year, and that's when they told us they couldn't, that they had arranged with her ex-husband to visit him. Yes, I know how strange it sounds. She and her husband are best friends with her ex-husband. Well, after a week, we called them again to see if they wanted to come at least for coffee in the afternoon, especially since her ex-husband lives 2 doors down in the block of flats next to us. Last week, she called us again that we were going on a trip to see my family there on Saturday morning and back on Sunday early evening. The conversation on the phone was exceptionally pleasant, and we ended it saying that after Christmas, we would visit her and give her birthday presents or go to her ex-husband's home and wish her a happy birthday there. Now, after an hour from the end of the call, her husband texted my fiance something like this. How can you allow yourself to treat your mother like this? You're crazy. You treat her terribly, and she's supposed to be 60. We're not at home for you, so don't call us and don't visit us. My fiance wanted to reply to this insane message. I threw insane in there. I'm sorry. To her husband, but before he could, my mother's husband blocked him on Facebook where he wrote that to him. We immediately called him and wanted to ask what was going on. Instead, he picked it up and immediately put it down.
Dude, what?
Immediate hang up.
What happened?
Something happened.
Why does this guy have the beef?
They were like, oh, hey, we want to see you. Wish you a Merry Christmas. He's like, how freaking dare you?
We are not here.
Scum of the earth.
We're not here to see you.
Like,
You may be here to see us, but we will not be making eye contact.
like, okay, God. We let the situation calm down. I thought it would calm down like all these manipulative episodes of hers. Okay, so I guess this is where it's coming from. Instead, a few days later, she wrote this in short. I don't want any handouts and a loving play, okay? We live 20 minutes from you, but you don't come. And if you do, you rush back home and only stay for a while, and that you need to rest after work. I won't be here forever, and you act like this. You are a snob and behave terribly. You said to yourself that you have a new family, so don't bother.
Wow.
To put things in perspective, I am a teacher and my partner works 12-hour shifts at work. My fiance's mother still complains that we don't visit her enough. We visit my family 4 times a year, always for 2 to 3 days. There's no other way because of work. We go to his mother's house at least once a month. During the summer break this year, we visited their garden at least 6 times. His mother has health problems with her spine and is at risk of 2 surgeries. She was on drips and taking medication. I understand that she is worried about her health, but she is exaggerating. Every time we want to come to them, she starts making excuses for not coming. For example, don't drive. Kate works in education. Children have germs. Like that explains it.
Oh, dude, I forgot when all of the germs in my body left and once I became an adult and I never
my
got
God.
sick again.
Well, because she teaches the kids. So the kids, they give her the germs and she drives them down. You know? Anyways.
Which is why she's so childish.
Yeah, there
She
you go.
still has germs.
It's all it
like
makes
a
sense.
child.
It's the full circle. Don't go. We're not well. Don't go. You are on a trip in a bigger city and you'll bring the vid home to us, etc., etc. On the other hand, she constantly blames us for not going to see them when they themselves prevent us from doing so. And when we invite them, they don't come even though they are 2 doors away. We didn't do anything to them, and yet we are always the bad ones. Even after we both celebrated our 30th birthdays this year, my fiance had a party planned that got canceled 3 times because of them. First, because they were sick. Second, because my mother's husband went to work abroad. They had debts and needed money. And third because they couldn't make it that weekend. Wow. Eventually, we gave up and stopped asking. Makes sense. On my birthday, they were invited to my family's for a family celebration of my 30th birthday. A few days before leaving, they called us that my mother's husband had health problems and they could not go with us. It even pissed me off, and I'm a pretty calm person. They were supposed to go on vacation a week later. The day before leaving for my family, we went to their garden and asked them how they were doing and so on. We were told that on Friday, the day of our travel, that they would bring pebbles between the flower beds and that she and her husband would somehow transfer it to the flower beds. Again, we were the bad ones for not helping them because we were going away.
I'm confused.
Your yard work
Because if you're
is-
putting pebbles in between the flower beds and you want to put the pebbles in the flower beds, put the pebbles in the flower beds first.
No. Why do you abandon us when we have all these pebbles to place? I don't understand.
This is so weird. They have like the weirdest behaviors and problems.
Dude.
We had so many pebbles. You know how many pebbles we had to sort? We only wanted the small pebbles. So we sorted them all out in a single line.
We had too many pebbles, so don't drive over here. Logic.
pebbles.
But in the end, their vacation didn't work out because their dog got sick.
Oh, no.
My fiance said that it was karma. Wow.
Not for the dog? What did the dog do?
Yeah, not the dog.
Now the fiance's bad.
Dog's innocent. Dog's innocent.
See? No, never mind. No, just keep that one rolling.
Ever since I met his mother, her health has gradually deteriorated, and even her doctor has prescribed medication to calm her mental state. She didn't take it.
Go figure.
She hasn't had an easy life, I understand that, but she can't treat us like this and expect us to just shut up and not fight back. Well, today, despite their warning, we are not at home for you, we went to wish her a happy birthday. We wrote to her that we were waiting in the parking lot and if we could come in. We were actually standing below the house and waiting for what she would text back to us. We heard the text ringing on her cell phone through the open window. They were home. There was a light on. We heard them talking about it upstairs.
The text message tone is so loud you can hear it from the street.
Right? It's like, oh my God. You know their font size is like 1,000. It's like one word per like scroll. So about 5 minutes later, a text message written by her husband arrived saying they were not home. After all that,
No, we're not home.
dude. We should call them.
You could probably hear her. You can
Like,
hear
oh,
her.
so you guys aren't home? You're not home today?
Through the open window, you can hear her dictating into her phone.
Yeah.
No, we're not home today.
Siri, tell them that I'm not coming outside. I'm not answering the door, Siri. Go tell them that right now.
Yeah.
We recognized it because it was written in his language. He is from a different country than. So funny. He's Anyways, so we collected about $130 worth of gifts and went home. Wow. My fiance couldn't stand it at home and wrote to her husband that he was writing to his mom and not to him. And why is he still answering messages for her? And then he blocked his number to repay him for blocking him on Facebook. We went to see a streamer movie, and that's when I started getting messages on my cell phone. She wrote to me, how can we afford to treat her husband like this? And who wrote the text? That they are now arguing at home about it and that she wasn't home. She said she was at the pharmacy for her medication and he wrote the message for her. That she is not well, etc., etc. Instead, I looked at her stories on Facebook, how she is smiling with a cake, taking pictures of a flower and a gift from him, and looking very well and not sick, as she constantly writes to us. During our relationship with them, we found out that his mother lies very often and chooses when she has time and when she doesn't want to go or do anything. We figured it out about her due to the fact that when she was with my fiance's brother and his girlfriend, she was gossiping about us, and when she was with us, she was gossiping about them. She just didn't understand that we were having fun together and we would tell each other everything. She slandered her brother's girlfriend that she was a gold digger and that her son was under her influence. On the other hand, his mother claimed that I made up my nut allergies. I choke and throw up after eating nuts and have other food allergies.
Yeah, he's faking it.
He's faking it, of
That
course.
guy's faking that. I've seen a fake nut allergy.
Opie says, they say that I don't clean and my house is a mess, and the worst part is that I'm fat. After my knee injury, I gained 20 kilos, and unfortunately, I am not that lucky to lose it even if I try. After I defended myself for the first time and we shoved it in her face very politely that even if we try, we are still the bad ones and that we want to visit them, but they always discourage us, she was silent for a while and then started again. No confession, I did this and that. Instead, the same again, who wrote the message and how can we insult her husband like this? At the same time, he was the first to write us and threaten us not to go to them. Subsequently, I objected that half of the things she says aren't even true, that they have changed and not us, and I have no idea what happened, and that if she wants something of my fiance, she should write to me because she is hurting him and I will not allow her to treat him like this. So afterwards, about an hour later, she wrote to my fiance this: since you have been with Kate, you have changed and you are acting rudely. I hope you are not unreasonable and you can have communication with me as much as you want. When threats didn't work, she tried questions. And when those didn't work either, she tried to destroy or disrupt our relationship. So what do you guys think? Am I really that terrible for standing up to this callous and toxic mother? I believe we have basically an update coming up, but just real quick. Mr. Big D, first off, are they bad for, standing up to this evil mother?
No, I would say no. And like, it'd be different if like the literal entire context of the story wasn't there. If you just take like, my in-laws live 20 minutes away and we never see them. Am I the a-hole? It's like, well, maybe. But it's like,
context.
They're constantly like, well, you can't drive.
Yeah.
You're in education. It's like,
and then
what?
like, why don't you visit me more?
Yeah, it's like, because you have like a weird demand system that you put on us. Like, that's weird.
I am legit go low contact.
Yeah, I think if you is relented, it's like you're reinforcing their bad behavior,
Yeah.
essentially. They're learning like, oh, if I want to get what I want from them, this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
And then they just keep doing it forever. So
Obi says, thank you for any advice and ideas on how to get out of this heck and not be a moron with your ears down. And now we're diving into the full update.
yes.
When my fiance's mother couldn't handle the abusive messages to me, she decided to write to my fiance. She wrote to him that since he's been with me, he's been rough and heartless, and that he's never been like that ever since he started being with me. At the same time, last year at Christmas, when my fiance proposed to me, she forced herself into our house so that way she could be at the proposal, to which my fiance finally nodded just to keep the peace. He originally wanted to propose to me alone by the Christmas tree in the evening. He even asked my family if he could marry me, which is the nicest thing he could do for me. He asked my mom and her husband, he's not my biological father, but it's like he is, and he even asked my grandmother.
What a nice boy.
What a nice little gentleman.
What a nice boy he is.
Well, let's get into update number 2. Christmas Day, 12/24. That's Christmas Eve, but we'll go with it. So, my fiance's mother started writing to him at 6:30 a.m. in the morning. She knew he would be leaving work and texted him letter after letter until he answered. She asked him if he should really write to me about everything she wants to deal with him about. When she wrote to us for the first time, I wrote to her that if she wanted to solve something, she should write to me because I will not allow her to keep hurting her son like this stupidly. Basically, I did the same thing as her husband, and then she started writing to me, where I take this right to talk to her like this and that. She can write as she wants to her son. She asked him about writing to him, and she even said that I should calm down because she is not some kiddo from my school. I work as a teacher. My fiance then wrote to her that she can write just to him, and he doesn't want to see her husband in his life anymore. Wow. So it seems that the husband is indeed starting the no contact train.
Has begun.
It's begun.
He blew the whistle on the no contact train.
The stepdaddy is no more. It's interesting that her husband can write for her to us, but as soon as I do the same, she starts writing to me that my fiance is a self-righteous person and that I don't have the right to write for him. A double standard indeed. What can we do to fix her? Because I'm starting to think that the biggest evil is her husband, and he's just trying to cut her off from her children just as he is from his own. Ooh. That is a plot twist.
He was from the very beginning. He was the one who was like, and you won't be seeing us. Who do you think you are, seeing us? When you do see us, you don't really like it, I can tell.
Yeah, so we have this update number 3, which I think is our final update, but like, yeah, I think that's actually, it's the classic, like, your parent gets married, and then the step parent comes in and just like ruins everything.
Yeah.
Right? And they're just kind of like following along because they married them. I think that could be accurate. The crazy thing is the parents getting married are 60 and then OP and her husband are 30. So it's like, guys, we're not freaking kids anymore.
Yeah.
But they're still pulling this like, oh, I'm the daddy now. You're going to respect your big daddy or I'm going to do all this stupid stuff.
If if you're gonna live under my roof, in my house, which you don't, but you will listen to my rules.
Okay, we got update number 3. The future ex-mother-in-law is working her magic again. Last night at 8:30 in the evening, we were approached with screenshots from Facebook.
Oh no.
The fiance's mother screenshotted my mom's Facebook and sent it to us. My mom shared a lot of things on her profile yesterday. A few quotes about how women have a hard time in life, something about a healthy pride, a parrot stuffing flowers between its feathers, and an article about bad behavior of mothers and how they can cause mental blocks for their children in the future, etc. It was all public. No one singled out anyone anywhere, especially since my mom is quite a fan of psychology and is very committed to raising me and my younger brother to do well in life. When my fiance asked her what to do, she snapped at him that it was all aimed at her and the quotes my mom shared, and that she would not allow herself to be publicly humiliated. I repeated once again, no one was tagged anywhere, and what my mom shares is classic of probably every 50-year-old mother with access to the internet. So in short, everything she likes and shares is this: jokes, parrots, because she has one at home, satire, psychology, and quotes. I think the content of her profile is very innocent considering today's conditions and the semi-current condition in our country. Even though we wrote to her that no one is tagging her anywhere and it's just sharing things that she likes, she couldn't tell. If she looked back at her profile a day later, she would find very similar things to what she shared there yesterday, but I think she's looking for any excuse to fight. Finally, after 3 hours of writing back and forth, we learned that if we don't rewrite the car we bought for them a month ago, immediately when her husband says it, he's gonna report us to the police for theft or preventing the rewriting of the car. And I believe that's like redeeding, getting like the ownership of the title of the car, right? Retitling the car. And at that moment, the smiles faded even for us, dude. Bro is inventing crimes. They're literally inventing crimes to call the police on them. They're just running at it. They're like, if you don't retitle your car to me now, I'm calling the police. They're like, bro, this is... Well, Opie says the smiles faded even for us. Until then, we had been joking about that loud scream of hers into the dark. We ended up making an appointment for next week, and luckily, I was able to be there because my fiance is afraid that her husband is going to throw dirt on him and school him there about some non-existent bad behavior towards his mother, especially when the only one causing problems here is him, so she says. In addition, if anything were to happen, I have a cell phone and pepper spray with me, and I'm not afraid to use it.
Whoa!
Who's she using it on, the police or the mother-in-law?
She's ready for any and all targets.
Opie's ready for action, bro. God dang. Oh my goodness. Thank goodness for self-defense classes with the local police for our entire teaching staff last year. If anything physical were to happen, I know how to proceed with a calm head and I know what to do. Okay, to be fair, these parents like keep escalating like
there's so many threats.
Dude, there's like so much. There's like literally they're just making a mountain out of a molecule, not a molehill.
Yeah.
They just keep inventing these things. So to be fair, who knows if they're just gonna
Why do I feel like
ambush them?
They'd use like a really weird like weapon as well. Like it wouldn't be like it'd be like Indiana Jones's whip or something.
Yeah,
or like,
dude.
Like some sort of like an old medieval mace.
Yeah.
With like the spikes on it.
Dude.
That's what they'd use in a physical altercation.
Oh.
Which is great to have pepper spray for.
God.
If someone's walking you down with a medieval flail.
I mean, you got to do something. You got to do something. At that point, you got to pepper spray your mom.
Your only hope is science.
Oh, God.
Science in a bottle.
During the self-defense course, they taught us directly about very unpleasant situations. They put us in them, and I know what to expect. And there's the final update number 4. We're going to dive right in.
Here we go.
I learned this morning that she wrote to my mom under the post that she should sweep her own doorstep and she should re-educate her daughter, me. In addition, my mother wrote to her what she meant by that and why she was publicly attacking her out of nowhere. And his mother wrote that my mom has problems in her marriage, at home, and when she solves it, she can't talk about it to other people. And then she blocked my mom. All I can say is that my mom and her husband have only had one disagreement, and that was that he is a workaholic and was hardly home when my mom moved in with him after the marriage. Since then, they've got along very well. A bump here and there, but that's normal after all. By the way, you know what else is the most normal thing in human history.
Hit us.
The
with
fact that if you love these stories, then why not binge full episodes of it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and your favorite podcasting app?
Mm-hmm.
Just go to Spotify and all those places and just search OK Storytime.
Indeed.
Listen in. But speaking of listening, Dakota, I want to listen to you. We've read a lot of insane stories. 1,900 episodes, Dakota.
Yeah.
This is we have all-time gaslighting Karen material right here because these in-laws, just the way they're able to invent problems and call the police is crazy.
Yeah. I think you actually should get in front of that by contacting the police and being like,
ooh,
you know, you're going to be receiving some calls from some people who are inventing crimes that don't exist.
Yeah, yeah.
And so just warning, heads up. And so if they're going to gaslight you, it's time to gaslight the police. To the point where their asinine calls yield no results.
That's a brilliant idea. Like anytime they try to pull something, especially if the police are involved, they have it say, hey, we have the deed, have everything. They're going to say we stole it. We literally paid for them and got the title and everything. Like we're good to go. They're just being crazy and do that anytime they do that. And definitely, honestly, at this point, I think we might have to go no contact.
Yeah, no, you can go no contact.
Oh, no contact.
You can
sure.
go. You can definitely go
no
no contact
because they will not stop.
Yeah, it's ceaseless.
Opie says that's the only thing the mother-in-law knew, and she immediately wanted to use it as a weapon. In addition, my mother only knows that we are at odds and that it's not thanks to us, unfortunately, and that my fiance is very sorry about what is happening with his mother. I understand that she has health problems in her life, but I'm afraid that it's starting to get to her mind. What do you guys think is best? My fiance is shocked that his own mother is capable of such horrible things, and he never thought in his life that she could do such a thing to her own son. I'm 100% in favor of ending contact with her, and especially with her husband. I don't know what we will do with all the presents we bought for them for Christmas and her 60th birthday. They're still unopened at our home, but this is really too much even for me. How can a mother harm her own child like this? And that is the end of the story. You know, what a crazy story. There was a
lot of craziness.
My fiance's parents criticize me nonstop, so they're not invited to my wedding.
What in-laws?
My now fiance Jim and I have always been rocky with his parents. I have no contact with my family due to abuse and met Jim's parents at a very uncertain and scary time for me. By the way, this comes from Angel of Music 5 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So they never particularly liked me and thought I was weird because of how nervous I was. However, I had a good reason. Jim still lived with them at the time, and I heard a lot about how controlling they were. His dad had some issue with looking at inappropriate content and lying about it in the past, so I won't fully go into that, but basically never took accountability for it. Jim's mom, Becky, not only enabled him, but projected onto Jim and became hyper-controlling in his teenage years. She assumed he would do the same thing just as he was male and didn't let him watch any movies where a woman wore tight clothes, even cartoons. Aladdin was not allowed because Jasmine's design, and it even got to the point where Happy Feet was banned because penguins moved too silly.
What? What is this story that we're reading?
Oh, Jim was also not allowed to have Instagram or Facebook until he was 18 for fear he might see inappropriate pictures. You're just like holding back a crazy animal. This same restrictions were not placed on his sister. Jim's first relationship, which happened when he was 18, ended because the girl could not stand how awful Becky was. She grounded him from seeing her a week because he posted a picture of them kissing. Jim was stuck obeying because he wasn't financially able to move out and was still caught in the process of realizing how extreme this was. When the girl broke up with him, his mom refused to admit that she had a role in it and just ignored it while he struggled with severe depression for several months, and later told him he had hurt the family, spending a lot of time in his room and trying to process everything. I met Jim through my family's business. We had become best friends and then fell in love. He helped me break out of an abuse and gain independence, another story, and we've been together ever since. When I met his family, Becky was as hard on me as she had been on his first girlfriend, but it was bad enough. She criticized every move I made, was always behind my back. I talked too much, didn't talk enough, didn't make enough contact, didn't look like I was listening. There was always a problem. When Jim tried to stick up for me, she would just overrule him and insist she was right. If we tried to explain she was making me nervous, she got offended because She wasn't doing anything to make me nervous. I was just trying to act like she was my mother. Her other biggest issue was with my clothes. She's extremely picky about what women should wear, especially curvier women.
But not Jasmine. Come on. She's back to Jasmine from Aladdin.
I wasn't even allowed to wear anything below my collarbone in her house because I would be tempting her struggling husband to look. I am curvy with a big bust and big hips. And she didn't particularly like that Jim chose a curvy girl at all. Maybe insecure she is. My butt in leggings was a problem, but they always poke fun at me for wearing skirts, which I like to do. I have chronic pain conditions that make jeans really uncomfortable to wear. So a lot of times I at a loss to what they wanted from me. I, of course, dressed the way I wanted outside of her home, but she would see my Facebook photos and complain. I thought about unfriending her, but that would have caused so much offense. I didn't want to put Jim through that. He was already dealing with getting treated badly by his sister, unfairly by his dad, and trying to juggle college and getting a second job to be able to move out. And I just wanted to be there as little drama as possible just until we could get a place together. We also started to notice her rules were very inconsistent. Jim's sister, Sydney, would wear things I definitely wouldn't be permitted to wear in Becky's house.
Yeah, because guess what? Dad's not going to be tempted with Cindy, his daughter, but you are not.
Becky indicated this was because Cindy was more petite. This made it clear her problem wasn't even with my clothing style, it was with my body, which made me very uncomfortable. Clothes are one thing, but I can't change the size and shape of my hips. And so moving forward a little bit to when Cindy began dating a guy. We expected her to go through what Jim and I went through upon introduction, but they didn't. Becky fell all over Sydney's boyfriend, welcomed him with open arms, made up cute nicknames for him, and literally would gaze at him while we sat at the table.
The double standard. I wonder what Mr. Dad's saying in this.
Jim and I figured she was living vicariously through Sydney or just plain liked him because she was always showed signs of preferring Sydney to Jim. She didn't like any girl Jim ever was interested in, but absolutely adored Sydney's guy. Another note, she had an issue with everything with me, but Sydney's guy was a different religion than her. Based on all Becky's opinions and views, that should have been a huge problem, but she didn't seem to care in the slightest. Jim was really hurt by the difference. We weren't allowed to do anything other than hold hands around them. If we hugged or put our arms out to one another, Becky would complain and tell Jim we needed to act like friends. But Sydney could straight up slap her guy's butt in the kitchen, and Becky acted like it was cute.
This is gross.
That and a mix of other things blew up, and Jim and I put a deposit down on an apartment. Of course, holy heck blew up at the prospect of Jim living with me unmarried, but Becky realized he was serious and seemed to calm down out of worry she might lose a relationship. After moving out, things got better. We saw them about once a month for holidays instead of every Sunday. We all got along better. They seemed genuinely happy to see us for about 2 months. Sydney began pulling her entitled crap again. Jim's dad began being overly authoritarian, and Becky started nitpicking again. It didn't get far before the big issue started. Jim does a lot of theater, and we got involved with the production of Macbeth. Jim was co-directing, and I was Lady Macbeth. Jim adores Shakespeare, and this was a big deal. But it also became a very stressful process. We got stuck putting together costumes last minute that we didn't know would be our responsibility. And we had been told a great flashy red formal gown for me to wear in the banquet scene. I found the highest quality one I could afford that still had a full skirt and wasn't stretchy and cheap, and it was off the shoulder and showed some cleavage. I asked Jim if it was okay since his mom would come to the show. He said, "I really don't care. They've come to my show where girls wore low-cut stuff before. They'll complain, but I don't have to plan my show around their opinions." I wore the dress. They came to the show and walked out at intermission.
These people are so like PG-13.
I don't understand why. Just because the dad had a problem doesn't mean like OP has a problem. Like, come on.
I got a problem with Becky.
Becky, come on and eat these fists. The entire cast was shocked. I only wore the dress for 15 minutes. On a tall stage from 30 feet away from them, it wasn't that bad. Everyone was extremely supportive of Jim, which was great, but we knew it wasn't over yet. The fact is, his mom was willing to walk out of the middle of a show Jim directed when she knew how much theater means to him floored me. When she called him a few days later, she was self-righteous and accusatory, calling him a bad boyfriend for letting me go on stage like that and claiming he did it on purpose. Jim told her it was literally the best one we could find, and she said she didn't believe him. He began pointing out all of her inconsistency, how she still watches Titanic, Pearl Harbor because she likes them, and how she didn't leave other family events when girls were dressed in lower cut stuff than me. It was just because it was me. She began gaslighting and denying she said those things, said she was perfectly justified to leave the show, and they were wrong to have a problem with it. She said we were choosing to take offense when she was just speaking truth. Jim told her, yes, them leaving was a consequence of our actions, but us having a problem was a consequence of theirs and needed to put herself in our shoes and take some accountability. It ended with nothing getting resolved. A few days later, I ran across a very good article about how society treats women when men look at them in gross ways. How we need to stop transferring the shame to the women and remember that even in the Bible, Jesus said to pluck out your eye if you're looking at a woman with lustful thoughts and not to tell the woman to change her clothes. I reshared the article because I liked it. Cue Becky blowing up publicly on the post about, what about the hurt wife of the man who has to see him look at inappropriate women? Why does no one care about her? I replied as politely as I could, pointing out that that wasn't the topic of the particular post, and that there were plenty of resources of wives of men who struggle, therapy, church groups, support groups, etc., while mainly pointing fingers at women who get objectified, many of whom don't even know they're being looked at, or, like me, getting objectified no matter how we dress. I get hit on at work when I'm wearing a black polo. Becky continued on berating the lecturer, and I snapped back, telling her I was tired of her criticism, and I'm perfectly within my rights to share my opinion on the subject, considering she does that constantly, and I never berate her publicly when I disagree. We switched to texting and continue arguing for a few texts. Jim's dad finally showed himself in a few nasty texts to Jim as well, which was bold considering his past behavior, because the entire issue for the family, and he's never apologized. This family's horrible.
I'm out of this family.
I think that Becky is a Christian. How can you live life with this much bitter and hate in your heart? Really? Like, this is crazy to me. People deal with stuff. People struggle with sin. Like, girl, you gotta cope a different way, man. This is crazy.
Every woman's the devil.
If I tell you not to think about an elephant, what are you going to think about? No, you're going to think about elephants. What you need to do, if you're a Christian, you need to think about God and love Jesus more in this case. But it just seems like she's like, no, 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 instead of like looking at something else. If you're just like, don't look at this, don't look at this, you're going to look at it and it's going to make it worse. Rather, think about and do other things.
Becky is just thinking about OP's curves and how Becky can never be what OP is, because Becky's husband never looks at her the way that everyone looks at OP.
Then, without giving me time to respond, Becky texted Jim and told him she was cutting contact until we had a change of heart. Jim was furious and sent them each a final message detailing all the crap they did again and gaslit him about for years, and said maybe some distance would be beneficial. We had our own little no-stress Thanksgiving, and then Jim proposed to me. It had been well known that he was going to propose, but Jim didn't reach out or tell his family when he was going to, except for his grandmother who lives out of state. His family said nothing, didn't reach out or anything, which was pretty normal for them, as they always refused to acknowledge our dating anniversaries or any smaller couple milestones in the past. Then, just before Christmas, Becky reached out. She told Jim a package had been accidentally delivered to their house and cheerfully invited him to come over, and they'd love to see him.
Accidentally? Okay.
Jim was even angrier at this because not only were they not acknowledging this milestone in his life, not acknowledging me at all, they were just acting like nothing had happened and things should just pop back into normal. And if you want the opposite of normal, you need to go to your favorite podcast platform, search up OK Storytime, and listen to stories just like this. We got tons. Far from normal. We got a little bit more, but this family is ridiculous and crazy.
They already did the thing where like, we're going to cut contact. And you're like, okay, bye. Great. You ripped off the Band-Aid for us.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it. I didn't want to talk to you anyways.
They're the type of people that you cannot change. It's just the I'm always right, you're always wrong kind of thing. And that's what Becky is. She's like, whatever I think is right and what everyone else thinks is wrong.
It's just crazy. He told his mom, don't think that would be a good idea since I haven't had a change of heart. She responded by saying she didn't know what he was talking about and trying to rephrase her contact cutting text. He proceeded to ignore her since gaslighting is such a pattern, and there's no talking to her when she does that. He hasn't responded and doesn't feel ready to reach out, and they haven't said anything else. Our wedding is set for October, and the save the dates are going out in March. So they have 3 months to shape up, or they will not be invited. Neither of us really want them there. A case of love them but don't like them for Jim, and a genuine dislike for me. But of course, if they make nice, we will invite them. But there's going to have to be accountability and acceptance of our alternate views, and we seriously don't see that happening. Absolutely not.
I don't see that happening either. Or it's fake. Like they just come and then they'll say something and you're like, okay, well, you tried. Do we try and give him a chance? Do we tell him that?
Okay, do we want to be stressed out at our own wedding that should be about us, or do we have a good wedding and don't invite them?
Yeah, you're right. Your wedding, your rules. You know the lingo.
Opie, you know what's right and you know what to do. And that's the end of that story, guys.
My friend's fiance called me under the influence right before their wedding. Now all my friends are ghosting me.
That's crazy.
They
What did you
need to-
do?
You didn't do anything.
I didn't do anything.
I, 28 female, used to be best friends with Anna, 28 female, since high school. She was popular and outgoing, while I was the introverted, nerdy friend. In high school, I had a crush on Ethan, 28 male, but I assumed he'd prefer Anna, so I stayed out of it. They started dating, and I supported her with reluctance because of their toxic on and off relationship. Over time, I grew to dislike Ethan because he was rude and mean. By the way, this comes from deleted on the OK Storytime subreddit. Yes, never let your friends date the guy you like
Yeah,
because you'll hate them.
that sounds good.
I don't know those. They broke up when we were 21, but got back together with him a year later and eventually got engaged at 23. Wow. 3 months before the wedding, Ethan wastedly called me asking why I rejected him. I dismissed him and said he was wasted and ended the call. The very next day, I was kicked out of the group chats and ghosted by everyone else in our friend circle.
Oh my
Pause.
goodness.
She didn't reject him. She said she had a crush on Ethan and then he and Anna started dating.
Yeah, that's
So where is he getting this, like, why did you reject me?
was there?
Did Anna say something? Like maybe he was like, oh, I like your friend Anna. And Anna was
Yeah.
like, oh, she doesn't like you. Like, did that happen?
And then he was like, okay, I guess I'll date
Yeah, I
the
guess
friend.
she rejected me.
I don't know.
What happened there?
I don't know.
Also, why did everyone just ghost? Weird.
yeah, that's really weird.
When I texted my friends to ask what happened, they gave me the silent treatment.
What? The silent treatment is so annoying. Literally just talk about
Just say why.
it. Yeah.
When I reached out to Anna, I found myself blocked. Desperate, I even tried calling Ethan, but my number was blocked too. I had no idea what I'd done wrong, and I wished anyone would tell me. That week was hell. Anna's silence hurt the most because at the time, she meant everything to me. I barely slept, battling panic attacks at night while trying to keep it together for class during the day. If not for my supportive roommates who helped me through my panic attacks, I don't know how I would have made it through. Anna and I attended the same local university but took different classes. I waited for her outside her class. When she came out with her friends, I pulled her aside and asked what was going on. She accused me of being a fake friend who tried to steal Ethan.
Of course.
I denied her accusation and asked for proof, but she went silent and left. They didn't unfriend me on Facebook, but kept posting about their hangouts and their bridal shower, along with indirect jabs at me. I eventually deleted my old account and changed my number. I slowly rebuilt my self-esteem and moved on. I recently created a new Facebook account. A few days ago, I was added to a group chat for our upcoming reunion, which I had no idea about. They greeted me, calling me class president, as if they hadn't shunned me 6 years ago. Whoa, wait.
Wait.
I missed that. Sorry, it's been 6 years?
What?
It's been 6 years? Whoa.
Where did that come from?
Time jump. I left the group, but they messaged me. And I
Slay.
kept calling, so I finally picked up out of annoyance. She told me that she was sorry for everything and wished for me to come to the class reunion party. The party didn't seem to be complete without the class president every year.
True.
Opie's like, that is true, I guess. She told me that she divorced Ethan after 2 years of marriage.
Whoa.
Wow. She tried to reach out to me, but couldn't find any of my socials or contact info after we graduated. Because you blocked her.
Yeah.
I asked her why she was telling me all of this when she was not important to me anymore. She cried. I ended the call and continued ignoring their messages on Messenger. My family says forgiveness is for my own peace and that it doesn't mean forgetting, but I don't feel anything anymore, only indifference. I don't owe them anything to ease their guilt. So am I the a-hole? And there is a PS. But pausing.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know. I think like I don't think you have to forgive.
I don't think so.
I think
if you've internally forgiven or like you've gotten over it, then you're good.
Yeah, I don't understand when people say like, you know, you gotta forgive everyone. For yourself. I honestly don't get that.
See, I am a proponent of forgiving for like.
Oh my God, let's talk about it because I need to. I might need to forgive some people.
I've got a list. But my forgiveness, I don't think it always has to be verbalized. I don't think you have to go to someone and say like, I forgive you.
Right.
I think it can just be like, you know what? I forgive this person because I don't want them to occupy space in my mind.
Yeah.
Like simply because I want to move on from them.
Right. But then does that mean that like in your head you say that it's okay that what they did?
No.
Because that's what confuses me, I think.
No, I don't think forgiveness is saying that it's okay. I think that it's always going to be like whatever they did that wronged you is still going to be wrong.
Yeah.
I think it's just saying, you know what, like either it's saying one, I'm allowing us to move on together from that and we're going to continue to be friends.
Yeah.
Or two, I'm allowing myself to move on from you.
Interesting.
So I think that's the way I think about it.
Okay. So do you think that she should forgive or?
I mean, it's been 6 years, so I think maybe like forgive in the sense that just move on from them.
But it
I don't
sounds like
think
she has.
Yeah. Which exactly. I think she's like, I'm indifferent. I don't really care.
Yeah. I mean, like if you call it forgiveness or not, like, she said she's indifferent. So like, I don't think I think that needs to be an issue
the same
anymore.
Thing.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't think you don't have to be friends with them, especially like it kind of makes sense on Anna's side because, and not like saying that it's good or anything, but it like makes a little bit of sense because it's like, oh, her fiance probably told her all of these lies.
That's not, I mean, that's what can be assumed. Yeah. I'm sure.
But with all of the other friends, the fact that none of them even like went to talk to OP, I would net like that's.
I know.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, because that's a huge thing. Yeah. Like the fact that they just ghosted without question, with just hearing stuff from this guy, and then turns out,
wow, hey, turns out he should check in.
Right, and he was a bad guy this whole time.
Bad guy this whole time.
Yeah, funny how that works, huh?
Funny. But there is a little bit more to the story. Actually, a lot more. P.S. I originally posted this in another main subreddit, but it was deleted. Even now, I still wonder why I was ghosted and shunned like that. I want to know the truth, but I'm not sure if I can trust any of them. And there is an update. Am I the a-hole for refusing to forgive my ex-best friend and other friends even after 6 years later?
Okay, interesting.
I think they're trying to come back to you because they feel guilty, but you don't owe them anything.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
they feel guilty, but like you've moved on.
You've moved on,
so that's on them. They can figure that out themselves, just like you had to figure it out yourself.
Exactly.
So
I wanted to edit my previous post. Just a quick disclaimer: I created my Facebook account 2 weeks ago after mustering the courage from past trauma. I used fake names and ages for anonymity. In reality, we're all 29. My friendship with Anna fell apart when I was 23, and now 6 years later, we're 29. That is math. Yeah.
Look how that works.
I know no one has noticed this so far, but I just wanted to clarify. Some people from my previous posts suggested that I reach out to Ethan. However, before I could do so, he reached out to me first. Yesterday, I received a friend request from him along with a message saying hi in my messenger, so we talked. He invited me for coffee this weekend so we could talk about it. I told him not to push his luck and just answer me. I asked him about his call that night. Since most boys were too intimidated to approach me, they often asked Anna to convey their feelings to me. I was freaking right!
What?
I was freaking right!
Oh my gosh.
Ethan was one of them. Apparently, a lot of boys had a crush on me back then. But at the time, only Anna received open confessions, so I assumed I was undesirable. Not that it mattered to me. What a freaking bad friend.
Yeah.
What a terrible friend.
That's
She's stealing all of the
crazy.
guys.
That's crazy.
Oh, man. I was foolishly infatuated with Anna, so much so that I would have rolled out a red carpet for her to walk on if I could. She was my entire world back then. Man, that sucks.
Doesn't sound healthy though, too.
Not even once have I ever heard about any boys in high school liking me from Anna. Apparently, Anna would always come back to them with her apologetic face, telling them that I had rejected them and repeated the insults I had supposedly said about them.
Oh, she's making that stuff up now?
This is crazy. This is wild.
Wow.
Wild. And no one ever said anything to OP?
Yeah.
No one was like, hey, OP, why did you say that about me?
That's
messed up.
crazy.
No wonder some people back in high school called me arrogant and disliked me for some reason. No.
Oh my gosh.
I just thought it was because I was a strict class president and student committee member. Unlike Anna, who was friendly and charming, I was strict, sharp-tongued, and rarely smiled. I didn't know anyone to smile.
True.
You don't?
True. And you don't know
like
an apology.
He's like, I was a strict class president. No nonsense.
Right.
Ethan explained that he was mean to me back then because Anna told him I had said he was an orphan abandoned by his parents. That's what OP was like. Yeah, he was really mean. So like I didn't like him after that. I would be mean too if I thought
if someone said
I was an orphan abandoned by my parents.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Anna's a psycho.
Okay, now I'm thinking like, because at first I was like, okay, Ethan's probably crazy.
Yeah.
Like that's no wonder Anna divorced him. But now I'm thinking it's definitely
Anna.
the other way around.
It's Anna.
That
and
is
now
crazy.
OP and Ethan are gonna get together.
Yes. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Rom-com.
I'm
so excited.
Yeah, I am making all of these predictions and they've been right so far.
Yeah, I believe you.
This was a particularly sensitive topic for him as he had been raised by his grandparents since childhood. He later discovered the truth when Anna inadvertently admitted it during an argument.
Amateur.
That moment led him to file for divorce.
Wow.
Ethan shared that he genuinely did love Anna, but her constant insecurity and habit of bringing up my name in every argument strained the relationship. She either accused Ethan of still thinking about me or compared him to me. Anna did find out about Ethan's wasted call that very same night. They had an argument, and Ethan came close to calling off the wedding.
Wow.
But Anna guilt-tripped him into staying. Neither Ethan nor Anna lied or twisted the story. Anna simply told our entire friend group to stop talking to me.
Oh my god.
And they just did?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Is Anna a cult leader? What? I'm sorry. If one of my friends said, you have to stop talking to another one of my friends.
Yeah.
I'd be like, why?
I'd be like,
Why?
grow up.
What is the reason?
Yeah.
Like, do you have any reason? And
Right.
You know, if they didn't, they were just like, no, you just can't talk to them. I'd be like, no.
And then I would talk to them and then be like,
what's
hey,
going
she's
on?
saying this. Like,
Yeah.
what's happening? So crazy.
They knew I hadn't done anything wrong, but somehow it was still my fault that Ethan had unresolved feelings toward me. I was and still am an introvert, and most of my friends back then were hers. It wasn't surprising that they followed her lead when she turned against me. They were always her friends, not mine. Anna and my ex-classmates then painted me as a villain to the other friends from high school. Ethan didn't do anything to help because he was manipulated to hate me. His words, not mine.
Wow.
I mean, again, if I found out
Yeah.
that someone told me that I was an orphan, abandoned by my parents, I wouldn't go to bat for the person who I thought said that.
Right. Like, I think that's
Yeah.
understandable.
That's why I changed my number and deleted all my social media accounts. While no one directly bombarded me with mean messages, I constantly saw posts that seemed to be aimed at me, even though my name was never mentioned. Ethan only revealed everything to the other friends after his divorce with Anna was finalized. Now, Anna and my ex-classmates are the ones being shunned by the others since 2 years ago. Ethan said he owed me an apology, though he knew it wouldn't be enough after everything that happened. While he never smeared my name, he stood on the sidelines and did nothing simply because I rejected him and called him an abandoned orphan during high school.
Crazy.
Again, the abandoned orphan part, was a like if that had been said, that would have been like
it's pretty intense.
ton of grounds.
Yeah, but I also
for at least not
think
talking
it's
to her.
yeah, but I do think it's interesting though that he focused on the rejection part.
Yeah, that
Like-
part is less. That part I'm like, well, okay.
But Ethan focused on that though when
Yeah.
he called her. It was like,
he was
why
like,
did you reject me?
He never brought up why did you call me an
Yeah,
abandoned
like,
orphan?
why
He was
did
just
you
like, why did
insult me
reject
like that?
Yeah, that's
so
that's
that's-
a lame excuse.
Interesting though.
Yeah,
It's I don't know. I
he's
think
still
that's
he's not over her.
very interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also, even if it was just the rejection, then OP doesn't know him anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
He asked me if I was going to the upcoming reunion party. Turns out the reunion party this time was for the 1995 high school batch. My ex-classmates probably wanted their former class president to attend for appearances.
This is really
Okay.
serious.
OP, I do think maybe, possibly, you are putting a little bit too much weight on the class president thing. Because OP's like, well,
Yeah.
they probably want me to attend for appearances.
I don't even think I remember who my class
I
president
don't
was.
remember.
I would
don't
not care if they were
remember.
there.
I literally wouldn't care if they were there. I probably won't. I don't know if I'll go. I didn't go to I don't think anyone showed up to our 5-year.
You had a
reunion.
5-year? See,
But I
my
don't think
5-year would be coming up this upcoming year,
don't
and
think
I
people
would
showed a-
love
oh,
to
you
go.
would love?
I would love to go, but I don't know if it's even like a thing. I don't know if it's happening.
Yeah, well, I think they do 5, 10.
Yeah, they just go by fives.
Yeah, I think they.
I'm
go
assuming.
fives.
But yeah, I want to
I
know.
think I'd possibly go to
figure it
my
out.
10, but I feel like
I'd go
5
to
years. It's like I just saw you.
Yeah, I mean that's
know?
the thing that people that I've heard.
Yeah.
Like my sisters are like older, so they've said that like, you know, that no one cares about the 5-year one, especially
Yeah.
with social media and stuff.
Yeah, it's
Everyone
like, I already
cares
know what
about
you're up
10
to.
years. Yeah, because
Yeah.
then 10 years is when you actually get like settled and
Yeah,
have
and
a
there's like fun
solid
stuff. You're like,
life.
ooh, they got married. Whoa.
right, and it's not just like I'm
Yeah.
at like In and Out still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
like nothing's going on.
yeah.
I told him I won't go. He said I can sit with him and his ex-classmates if I wanted to. Why would I? Brother. Ugh. I told him I wouldn't be attending because I have no friends from high school. He mentioned that the others would be sad if they heard I said that.
Oh my god.
Well, screw them, OP says, but
Yes.
also me. I received a lot more messages from old friends, but I didn't respond to any of them. I have no attachment towards them.
Slay.
I told Anna that Ethan already told me everything. She called me on Messenger again, sobbing. She admitted she might have been a terrible friend. What do you mean might have? But that she did care about me. All those years, I was always on her mind. I was too attached to her back then because she was my first real friend, and I had no friends in middle school. I was too shy and quiet, so I couldn't make friends. Anna taught me how to make friends and overcome my social anxiety and introduced a lot of people to me. And by the way, you can introduce us to your friends and family and tell them that we go live every weekday at 3 p.m. PST on YouTube, on Facebook, on TikTok. Just tap her profile.
Just tap it.
Tap it. And there is a little bit more to this story, but any final thoughts?
I think it's just this all just feels blown out of proportion at this point. Like in the beginning, in the early story, the like first round, you know, it was like, okay, yeah, we got this all covered. And now, I don't know. Now this just feels like it's just the friend's problem. Like it doesn't feel like OP has any problem, and everyone else is just
care.
like, please.
Yeah, they're so obsessed with getting OP, the student class president's favor back, and OP's like, I literally don't care about you.
Yeah,
guys.
it's like you will not be pardoned.
No,
actually,
I shan't pardon
veto.
you.
Yeah.
But there is a little bit left to the story. I learned to cook for her and took care of her when she was sick. I even protected her from creeps.
Slay.
Everything I did was for her. Now that I think about it, it was kind of unhealthy. Maybe she wanted me to be that version of myself again, only for her convenience. She begged me to try again, that she would be a better person for me, but I just ended the call and blocked her. After a few minutes of contemplating, I decided to delete my Facebook account again. I have a feeling that if I didn't, they will keep on bothering me. I'll settle with a fake account. The main reason why I made Facebook account is to play Harvest Town anyway.
Nice.
Sorry for the long post. This will be my one and only update. I want to thank the 4 people who personally messaged me on Reddit. Your messages meant a lot, as not many people have done so much for me in my life. I hope my update answered your questions. Farewell. And that is the end of that story.
Wow.
I've been thinking about it this whole story. This does read like an anime.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe it's just like the emphasis on the student class president thing.
Yeah. I can see that.
I feel like that's in a lot
They'd
of anime.
all
They're
have, like,
student class
uniforms and
president.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have to make an appearance.
And there's like
That
so
part
much
was so
drama
silly
going
to
in it.
me.
This feels like slice of life, except it's like super dramatized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so silly willy.
Silly Willy.
Silly
You guys are,
willy.
like,
You guys walked
so
out of her
old.
life,
You're
so
29.
stay out. That's what you
get
gotta
out
do.
of there. Don't come back.
Yeah, she doesn't want you.
But
Doesn't
that
want you.
is the end of that story and
Boom.
the end of this episode, I think.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. So if you love us, make sure to subscribe.
We love you.
and
See you tomorrow.